Hi there. I'd like to call to order the county commission meeting for October the 7th at 4:01. In attendance is Commissioner Hadler, Commissioner McCurdy, Commissioner McGann, Commissioner Martinez, and myself, Commissioner Hamlin. And is Bill online? I don't see Bill yet. I think that Commissioner Winfield will be joining online and Commissioner Hadeen is absent. So if you all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I have a quick announcement before we start citizens to be heard. And that is that the following items will be moved to the next commission meeting, which is scheduled for October 21st. These items are all in legal review and they will not be discussed or voted on tonight. Those items are item number 4, the major utility overlay for Moab City. Item number 5, the Novak rezone. Item number 6, the Grandview subdivision final plat. And item number 13, the public defender contract. I want to let everybody know before the meeting gets started. And if we have any citizens to be heard in the audience. No citizens to be heard. What about online?
Hang on a second. I don't see anyone online.
And has Bill made it online yet?
No, to forget.
Okay.
Great.
That's a first this year. We're having more citizens to be heard. So go ahead and move on to our first item, which is recognizing Bill Jackson. So after 36 years of serving Grand County, Utah, with dedication, integrity, collaboration, and skill, Bill Jackson is retiring as road supervisor. Bill began his career with the county on October 1st, 1989, and fittingly chose October 1st, 2025 as his last day. In true Bill fashion, he selected those dates for practical reasons. He had elk tags for both seasons and didn't want to be that guy who asked for time off when starting a new job or leave. That kind of integrity and responsibility has defined every day of Bill's service. Over more than 3 decades, Bill has guided the road department through tremendous change, strengthening the foundation of our county's infrastructure and leaving behind a legacy of progress that will serve Grand County for generations to come. In the county's archives, there's a copy of the first recommendation made to the commission for Bill's advancement from 1991. It recognizes his strength, his strong leadership, his work ethic, and his commitment to the people of Grand County. Those same qualities have never wavered. On behalf of the Grand County Commission and our entire community, we thank you for your service, Bill, and the years of outstanding service, and we wish you the best in your next chapter. So may your aim be steady, your road smooth, and your elk tags well used.
Yeah. Did you and Tammy collaborate?
Now, does anyone else have anything else to say?
Bill, you've helped me already countless times in my short tenure here, but thank you.
Yes, over, for all the years I've been on, you have been so, quick to respond to questions, professional. I've really enjoyed working with you, and Cody has some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure working with you, Bill. It's definitely very much appreciate everything given to the county.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks, Bill.
Carry on.
Love that elk tag.
Good luck, Cody.
All right, so up next is our Grand County Recreation Special District, and this is Robert.
I did join the Zoom, so you can share my screen.
Hang on.
It looks like Commissioner Winfield has joined us via Zoom.
Okay, you should be able to share now.
Oh, yeah, I'm not the best in technology, so let's figure this out. Well, thanks, everybody. I'm Robert Holohan. I'm here representing the Grand County Special Service, our Grand County Recreation Special Service District, which I've been a member for 4 years. And first and foremost, we need to thank y'all for supporting the Special Service District for a number of years now in the form of a pot of TRT money that we've been receiving and has been a fairly significant portion of our budget. And in particular, we need to thank you for filling in for that pot of TRT money for 2025 once it was determined that that outlay had, was not in compliance with TRT. And by making good on that, you prevented us from having a gigantic hole in our budget for 2025. And I did also want to thank everybody for numerous members of the county commission have attended our board meetings over the course of this year, and we really appreciate your guys' interest and engagement with our board and what we've had going on. So I did want to talk briefly just on the kind of overall budget picture that we're looking at the Recreation Special Service District. A significant portion of our revenues, the vast majority, come from mineral lease royalties, which in broad strokes, broad trends are kind of decreasing year over year and pinching our budget fairly significantly. On top of that, they're often very unpredictable. Budgeting for our board is a game of darts. I'm sure you guys have no idea what this is like. Trying to guess what our revenues are going to be in a given year. Sometimes the big mineral lease payments we just do not receive as anticipated. And so the kind of reliable piece of TRT money that we had been receiving for the county for the past 5 years really aided our budgeting process just from kind of a certainty perspective. On the expenditure side, a large portion of our annual expenditures are kind of like fixed obligatory expenses, paying down the debt from building the Recreation and Aquatic Center, paying M&O on Old Spanish Trail Arena. And some of those expenses, particularly the OSTA M&O, continues to creep up along with inflation, while our revenues are thus creeping down. That county support that we've been receiving via TRT until this year, when it came from the general fund, has enabled us to have enough wiggle room to make kind of any discretionary expenditures, which for us largely is improvements in projects to Old Spanish Trail Arena, as well as our recreation grant program, which helps fund a number of different organizations, which I'll speak to a little bit more in a second. So yeah, we'll just jump right into that. So I just have a quick slideshow here to just share with everybody, the recipients of our recreation grant from this year, 2025. 14 different entities in Grand County received some amount of money from our recreation grant. It was a total of $35,000. That was less than the last couple of years, kind of as our budget was pinched a little bit. But these are like all programs that we're really excited to be able to show support to from the Recreation Special Service District. They're all providing programming that reaches like kind of a wide swath of Grand County citizens. I just wanted to highlight like a handful of these that kind of gave us a little bit of info, like pictures and so forth. So we provided a chunk of funding to the Fast Pitch Elite softball program, which is one of the main, among many others, kind of users of ball fields out at Old Spanish Trail Arena. And, y'all can review this at your leisure, but we did have a kind of letter of encouragement from Fast Pitch Elite on, behalf of further support for recreational infrastructure out at OSTA. We were able to support and sponsor Beacon, providing a climbing after-school club for some of their after-school students. We supported Outward Bound in a collaborative program with the Multicultural Center to take some of their youth students on a rafting trip as well as a climbing trip. We helped fund tuition assistance for the Youth Gardens summer camp, enabling some students who might not have otherwise been able to afford that program. And lastly, I'll just mention we supported Science Moab and their Science on Tap lecture series, which I just wanted to highlight here because we do some of the programs we're sponsoring do meet the full age range. Definitely a majority of them are more youth oriented, but here we see a full packed house at Woody's Tavern from an event that the rec board was able to help support a science lecture. So that's kind of what I had from the grant program. For this coming year, we received requests from 16 organizations for a total of $68,000. Looking at our budget, it's very unlikely we'll be able to pay out even half that, but it's always one of the hardest things we have to do in a given year is decide who among all of our really deserving grant applicants can get a piece of that money. So kind of giving you that background in the Recreation Board and kind of what we've been up to recently, and understanding that the county is undergoing significant budgetary constraints of its own. I do sit before you and humbly request that the county continue to support the Recreation Special Service District, in an amount kind of similar to the pot of TRT money that we had previously been receiving in recent years, which was for the last 4 years, $137,000, which would enable us to, as a Recreation Special Service District, disperse money for any kind of discretionary expense, whether that be continuing our grant program or funding improvements for Old Spanish Trail Arena, which has been the other kind of big discretionary expense that we've had in recent years. And we were able to collaborate with the county to pay for kind of the new rodeo panels out there over the past year. We've helped fund the scoreboard at the ball fields, a bunch of maintenance equipment for the ball fields out there. And that's just a prized and ever improving recreational asset for our community. And county support to our board will enable us to keep pushing towards that. So thank you all very much for giving us the opportunity to present in front of y'all. And what questions do you have that I can answer?
Thank you.
No questions?
All right.
Thank you for the continued support of OSTA. It's just so everyone's knowledge, it wasn't just the few things that were mentioned. It was the front doors, it was the roll-up doors, it was the grounds, it was quite a few projects out there that we like to see the special service district help with.
Well, appreciate y'all. Thanks so much.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
Oh, so our next presentation is the cloud seating presentation with Jared.
What works better? I think I pre-set the slides. I don't know if you pull them up or what works best.
Normally, if you connect the meeting and then just, and then,
Yeah.
okay, let me do that really quick.
Oh, and we might need to have,
Yeah, I'm trying to get that.
Let's see, Wi-Fi. Actually, not. Sorry, I should have done this before.
Let's see. Yeah. All right, there we go. Oh, you got it for me? Okay, good. I having trouble signing into Zoom. Okay, so my name is Jared Smith. I'm with Rainmaker Technology Corporation. So we presented to the Grand County Water and Sewer Board about 2 weeks ago, presenting an opportunity to bring cloud seeding to the LaSalle Range here. And I think part of the funding discussion was we wanted to present it here with the county. And then after, I think, supposing that you are interested, can work with Grant County Water to see how funding could work for it. We can go to, if you go to the next slide. So in brief, obviously, I don't need to talk to you guys here. America's in drought. It seems like the West is always in drought. Did have 1 year where we didn't have too many water issues, but we're back in it again. The solution, if you go down to the next slide, from our perspective is in the sky. So this is just a quick statistic. The atmosphere at any one time holds 3 times more water than the entire Earth's annual usage, humanity's annual usage. And that's at one moment. So just kind of brings to understanding the scale of water that's in the atmosphere at one time. And at Rainmaker, we feel like the solution to helping mitigate future drought is by accessing this water. Excellent. So we use cloud seeding. The focus is to release this water. We're very pro humanity, pro growth farmers, making sure there's enough water for the farmers, for the cities, and then obviously the ecosystems. The nice thing about cloud seeding compared to other infrastructure investments is that it's not only the people that benefit, it also is, it rains and snows on all the wildlife and they benefit as well. So how it works, that's probably the most maybe interesting question you may have is, so clouds are, the clouds that you see in the sky, they're actually liquid water droplets. And as they get really high, they're pure water. And the interesting thing about pure water is it doesn't freeze at 0 degrees Celsius or 32 Fahrenheit, like normal water in a water bottle would. It's pure, so it doesn't, you need some form of mineral or impurity to cause that to start freezing. And so what cloud seeding is you take these clouds that have water droplets that are floating by and wouldn't naturally fall, and they're below freezing temperature, and you introduce a mineral that has a similar shape as an ice crystal. Once that touches that water droplet, it turns that water to an ice crystal, and then that crystal runs into other water droplets and they grow, it turns into a snowflake and eventually falls out. So the idea is that you're taking natural clouds, you're not creating clouds, you're taking natural storms that come in, and you're introducing this material to help enhance the process. You're not doubling your water, you're maybe getting 10 to 20% increases over a season, but it is a significant amount over a large surface area. Next slide. So cloud seeding has been done for a long time. Utah's got the longest continuous program, over 50 years. And it's proven to be safe, effective. The 2 big questions are how effective are it, which historical target control analysis has shown, depending on the area, but it's between 5 and 20% increases over a winter season. And then as far as the safety aspect of it, which people are concerned about, they've done studies on land after 30 years of seeding an area to understand, how much of this material is accumulating. And what they found is that it's 5 orders of magnitude, so 100,000 times lower concentrations after 30 years than the EPA is concerned about. So it's very safe, proven to be very safe. So next slide. Basically, why isn't it everywhere? There's a lot of challenges with cloud seeding, the technology, both in the way that you deploy the material. Historically, they've used either ground generators or aircraft. The problem with aircraft, you have to fly into clouds that are below freezing, which they teach pilots not to do because you get icing on the wings and then you can crash and die. So it's obviously dangerous. And then ground generators, particularly in the LaSalle, they have had the programs here in the past, But it's a challenge because the range is so small. They're dependent on larger ranges of the wind lifting the material up into the clouds. So the LaSalles haven't been an ideal target historically with previous technologies. Next slide. So what we're focusing on is basically implementing new algorithms to identify these cloud conditions that are ideal for cloud seeding, deliver the material using a new weatherized drone that's capable of flying inside of icing clouds. And then we're working on new radar validation techniques where you're able to see ice forming as the material is deployed in the cloud, basically speeding up the validation process. Numerical modeling, we can skip that. It's a little nerdy for for the meteorologists. So these are our drones. They're capable of flying up to 15,000 feet. They fly into cloud. They have anti-icing systems on the props that allow them to shed ice so they can sustain deployment in cloud. The idea is that they can deploy this mineral into the clouds directly instead of being dependent on being on the ground or having some pilot that putting their kind of life at risk to fly in there. And then we have radar systems and weather stations that we're deploying that we actually have deployed in nearby here for monitoring the cloud and understanding the structures of the storms coming in. And we're operating all across the West. So one of the reasons we came to the LaSalle, to Grand County is because the state of Utah is funding a cloud seeding program, pretty much every county across the state. The LaSalles kind of haven't been supported just due to the technological issues historically, but with this new dispersion method using drones, we thought it would be, there's funding from the state of Utah. They're basically funding $350,000 of a $400,000 cost to run a cloud seeding program with a drone. And we thought LaSalles have no funding from the state. So we thought this would be a really good opportunity to seed these mountains and hope to increase that snowpack a little bit more starting in November. And that's it. I've got any questions. I've got some frequently asked questions on the slide. Yes.
I was reading through it and it said that they're 20% of, they increase rain by 20%. Is that 20% developed before this technology, or is this the?
Yes. Yeah. So that's the historical methods, and that's primarily probably looking at aircraft that have flown into clouds. You can buy some really expensive aircraft that have anti-icing technologies, and they've done a lot of studies on that. And it's up to 20%. California sees closer to 20% because their clouds are coming fresh off the ocean. They're very big. I would say in Utah, it's probably closer to 10 to 15% is what the historical target controls have shown.
So are you predicting that it's going to be 20%, or with this technology where you can get the drone, from the reading, you can get the drones can be there quicker than a airplane? Is that going to increase the probability of having rain more than, at least 20% or more?
It should be at least as effective. I'll say that. I don't want to overpromise, but at least as effective. But you're right, it's getting directly into the cloud position. So the effectiveness should be, theoretically more material is getting into the icing conditions compared to like the ground generator systems, which sit on the ground and kind of have to get that material lofted up to the clouds. So this is our first, this is kind of a pilot year with the state. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's 50% or anything like that, but I would suspect it would be the same as historical or more.
How long is this technology with the drones?
The drones is this year.
This year?
Yeah. Well, so we operated one program in Cache Valley, Logan, last year. It was with kind of a very initial proof of concept. And now this is being deployed in Camas. Fillmore is sponsoring this. It's the Pavanti range. They wanted to operate there. And then We have another 12 drone teams in southern Idaho, northern Utah to support the Bear River watershed for the Great Salt Lake. So it's new, but it's at least gone through one winter.
The technology is not new, it's how you deliver.
How you deliver, yes, precisely. Yeah, Mike.
Okay.
Yes.
I like it. Talked about cloud seeding previously, a few years with many of our different other counties.
Yep.
And our county partners. It's been through Utah Association of Counties has presented on it too.
Yep.
Most of the ground based, but I
Yep.
like hearing the drone based.
Yeah.
Hey, if I like it, we get it to go through, we get the funding from the state, saying a quicker timeline. How long till you guys are out there doing it?
November 1st. I mean, so we've already submitted, and we told Grand County Water this kind of in good faith. We were just gonna go. Our operational season with the states from November 1st through April 30th. So we're targeting snowpack. That's
Yeah.
not really
Targeting
rain,
snowpack.
not the snowpack, because that's that reservoir that you get a pull from.
Mhm.
But we're ready to go November 1st. We've got a radar system deployed already in Moab. We're working with the state to get land access to kind of some state-owned land where we can launch from, because these are mobile. You know, it's one team, but they're mobile. You know, they can go to the northwest or the southwest, depending on the direction the storm's coming. But yeah, November 1st is the plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's fast too. So.
Yeah.
A couple questions. So the EPA has a level for acceptable amounts of silver nitrate, is that right?
So right, yeah.
Or silver iodide, I'm sorry. And what negative aspects does silver iodide have in the environment?
If it's in high enough concentration, it can have a negative impact. I mean, they haven't studied it on humans. They've studied it on the kind of the water, like aquatic. I think the statement is at risk to aquatic life. It's at about, I think it's 1 billion parts per trillion, or sorry, parts per billion in concentration. And what they've found, or no, I think it's 100 million parts per 100 parts per million. And what they've found after operations in the order of 10 to 50 parts per trillion. So the concentrations are much lower.
How do the negative aspects of it manifest themselves in aquatic wildlife?
You know, I can share the research they did on it.
Okay, it'd be interesting anyway.
Yeah, no, we've got the papers and happy to share. I don't know the exact details of what the impacts are. They're focusing on the bacteria, which is I think the most sensitive kind of form of life to these materials. So that's kind of the if they see it there, then they kind of, that's their baseline of that could potentially cause risk to larger life forms. But I don't know the exact details of what they saw, those negative side effects.
Okay.
But I'm happy to share the state of Utah has a really good fact sheet with all these studies cited. I'll be happy to share that with you.
Yeah, email that over if you would.
Yeah,
And then,
sure.
and what does the operation look like on the ground? You guys just come in once? Or is it like every storm that comes
Oh.
through, you send a drone up or?
Yeah. So it's every storm. We're gonna have two trained operators who are licensed with the FAA. And we'll have a meteorologist who will be monitoring a storm system coming in. And then they'll direct this team of 2 people who will drive, and they'll say, hey, go to the, 10 miles northwest of the mountains. And they'll go there, launch up for about 30 to 60 minutes with one drone. And that whole time it's dispersing about 3 grams per minute of silver iodide. Then they'll bring it down and they'll launch another drone. So you're kind of juggling drones up and down during a storm. And then they leave when they're done.
And those teams are based in some central location. They go out to various places.
Yeah. So we either base them out of here, or right now they're based out of Salt Lake. We're looking into the logistics of whether we're gonna just get them an apartment here to operate out of or something like that.
And it has to be in wintertime.
Yes. So the focus is there are some technologies that maybe aren't as heavily backed by the research for summertime cloud seeding. We're primarily focused on the winter time with the state because that's I guess to them, the most interesting water that can be produced because it's that reservoir of snowpack essentially, right? The other thing that's interesting is we're working on a lot of research with the University of Utah and Utah State. One professor is very interested in the effects of seeding in April and how that affects the runoff. Because, you know, I don't know if your snow gets kind of dirty here towards the end of the season.
Sure.
That dirt actually attracts more energy from the sun, which causes it to melt faster.
Right.
So his thinking is that even if you can get an extra 1/10 of an inch fresh layer on top of that, that can help slow the energy absorption of the sun. Yeah. So it's interesting technology. I mean, we see it as sky taunts us. It's like having a river go through your town and you can't access it. We feel this is a tool that's been given new life to access water.
Are there any other outfits similar to yours out there? Or are you kind of the only game in town?
We're the only one in town that's doing the drones. There's other operations that will do aircraft. There was another one in Utah that was doing the ground-based stuff. I actually came from that company. We were acquired by this drone company, Rainmaker, North American Weather Consultants. Maybe I don't know if you've heard of it. So I've actually built all the ground generators here. There's over 200 of them. So I've done a lot of that work.
They worked with the ski industry previously?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I've read about that.
Yeah. So, but there are other, the biggest one is really, the Chinese Communist Party. They actually put, billions per year. They have over 40,000 employees in their government that are, seeding their farms and mountains.
Are we privy to their results? Probably not.
Yeah, they'll publish results and they've got programs. Some of it, you know, maybe you question the accuracy. I mean, is it true? Is it propaganda? I don't know, but much of the results kind of supports previous research. They're adding some new stuff in using satellite views of clouds and stuff, but they're pretty much all in on it.
Interesting. Thank you.
I just had a couple questions. First off, what are the range of the drones? You said they're up there between 30 and 60 minutes. And so like when you'll basically leave from a spot, the meteorologist will tell people, you know, that might be based here in Grand County. Hey, go out and go chase this cloud, and they'll go out. And what's the range on that drone?
Yeah, so it can go up to 15,000 feet. It ends up being like, you know, all an energy challenge, right? Like the range at what altitude. For our operations, what we're kind of focusing on is less than a 1 mile radius strafe, back and forth. The thing is when you deploy the material, you know, the dynamics of the flow of the air, it had a natural dispersing and mixing effect. And so, you know, you might have a point source, you know, from whatever, a 1 mile radius or half mile radius, downstream that, you know, that expands to a much larger area.
And I can't remember, but the previous silver iodide that was done in the LaSalle's,
Yep.
those planes, did they come at a price?
I don't think they were using planes. I think they were using ground generators.
Were they? Okay.
I can't remember at the previous board meeting, I can't remember his name. He was part of the operations and he said he was operating a ground generator.
Okay, so it was ground
It was
generator.
ground generators. Yeah, they kind of look like these old like rusty trash cans that you light on fire. In this case, there's no fire, there's no flames. So that's also an added benefit.
And then just a little bit about the funding. Something about the funding could be put off on the 2026 budget.
Yeah, so I spoke with Ben, and I spoke with the cloud scene coordinator with the state of Utah. We are okay due to, obviously, we know this like very short notice, and budgets haven't necessarily allocated, you know, $50,000, so in discretionary spending. So we've gone ahead and said that we're okay with signing a contract where we can make the payments due January of 2026 if that helps smooth over, you know, the short window, obviously, for budgets, because we want to get water coming.
Finish yours. I thought you were done.
No, thanks. And then so working with Monticello, I believe, as well, and the Abajos.
Yeah,
Would this same team right here be able to cover both ranges, you think?
yeah, if they're funding, I mean, obviously they can't hit both at the same time necessarily. I mean, if the flow is, you know, correct, like possibly they can. I think the way it would work out, if Monticello provides funding for the Abajos, We just have to have an understanding that there's gonna be some distribution where there may be a storm that we target the Abajos and we don't hit the LaSalles just because they're sharing in the funding. It's kind of the whole, if multiple people are paying for it, you gotta give everybody a piece of the pie. But the Abajos, yeah, we've looked at it, an even harder range to target because it's just basically a volcano. But we've looked at it and we feel we could hit several storms there as well.
Do you think that it would be reasonable to say, like, if we looked at, get a partnership of this 50,000 between WISA, Moab City, maybe the Paradox, San Juan County, and Monticello? That would be a reasonable area for you guys to cover?
Yeah, we would, we'd make it work. Basically, if storms come in and they're gonna hit the Abajos and not LaSalle's, we would just go to the Abajos. I think we would have to, if they're hitting both of them, we'd have to find the balance. I suspect most of the funding is probably coming from LaSalle's. So I'd say most of the seating would still probably have it here, but of course, we'd have to be mindful of the Abajos as well.
Thanks, Stephen. Did you have a?
Yeah, so when you're doing the seating, is there ever going to be a question of doing the seating over a certain location rather than another? Like, is there any competition or differing? Is there ever a conflict between different potential groups that would want the seating to be occurring in their area?
Splitting between the LaSalle and the Abajo does introduce some element of conflict, right? So I think that would just be something we'd have to be in discussion with the sponsor. We call the sponsors, so the groups are involved. I think that there would be enough opportunities that, if we've hit 90% of the storms in the LaSalle's and 10% in the Bajos, maybe that coordinates the amount of funding that is provided by the other groups that are focused more on the Abajos. But yeah, inherently there would be some degree of conflict because it's one drone team.
Right.
They can move, but they can't be in multiple spots at once. That was my only question.
Did you, Mike?
His question line answered everything I had there.
Yeah, no, and then,
Mine was a question about funding, that if we could ask other agencies to help with the funding would be like Moab City and other organizations, but you asked that, so thank you.
yeah, and then just on that as well, just the idea that if we don't get Paradox involved in this, it'd be nice to make sure that snow falls 100%.
Yeah, we'll do our best. We're not perfect at that. We'll do our best. I would just say, thank you for your time, and this is one of the cheaper and fewer technologies that's immediately available to increase water without a big infrastructure investment. And so thank you for your time, and I'll speak with I think Ben Musselman, Brian, as we go forward. So thanks. Thank you. Great. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, so our next presentation this evening is the Grand County Clerk Auditor proposed restructuring with Gabe.
Thanks, Vice Chair. So I prepared a pretty detailed proposal that's available in the packet, so I won't take a lot of time sort of reviewing there. It's all there, sort of pretty well laid out as well as I could. But I just wanted to sort of bring attention to what I see as a golden opportunity for Grand County to restructure the Clerk Auditor's Office in order to achieve improvements in compliance and performance. And so in my proposal, I try to give an overview of the duties of these two offices, which are currently combined, which I lead. The impact to staffing of a proposed restructure as I currently conceive it, which includes voluntary reduction of staff that will be proposing for the new year 2020. The accompanying fiscal impact of a proposed split. And then just a very clear, concrete idea. I thought it was important to offer all of this context just so everyone could visualize what's happening now and how this could be a very successful structure moving forward. And so I believe with that, especially with increases in scale and complexity of the Grant County government over the last 10 to 15 years in particular, along with ever expanding statutory duties and demands, that having the clerk and auditor offices combined creates unavoidable challenges given the tools and resources available to our county. One of those things where when I meet with other clerk auditors around the state, especially via the Utah Association of Counties groups, there's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of folks are having the feeling that they're just merely surviving and not thriving. And that's kind of what I want to point to in terms of what my experience is. I have high professional standards, and I want to be able to achieve the highest quality work on behalf of the organization and for the public that receives services. And a lot of times I feel like the best that I can do is to, uphold and carry on processes that have existed in the office that I currently hold. But these processes need improvements. They need to be brought up to compliance. There's just a lot of things that I'm fully capable of, implementing, drafting new policy, improving these things. But given the demands of my current role and not only on my own, the duties that I have to take on in my, in the leadership role, but also just being able to take on those duties while also effectively managing a staff that I need to delegate tasks to as well. It's very challenging. I'm sure you can all appreciate it. The Lieutenant Governor's office, the elections coordinators that, I asked them, hey, I don't expect that you would sort of speak up on it or stick your neck out necessarily because we're talking about another county, a county's own autonomous, choice and decision on its structure. But do you, is this something that you generally support? And that it's a full-throated, without hesitation. Yes, we think every county at this point, in their case, they feel like clerks need to have their duties separated from the auditor role. One great example is elections. Right now, ballots are going to be hitting mailboxes by the end of next week. And failure is not an option for elections. I'm sure everyone can appreciate that. And I have to turn, I definitely have to turn my focus to elections for the next several weeks. This also happens to be pretty much getting into the hottest part of our budget season. And so I'm going to do it because I have done it before and I know I can. And I'm very glad that I can be a valuable player with this team. But I'm I see an opportunity to do better here. I think, I have a gentleman from Omaha and also from our state representative from our equipment and software company, ES&S, here today, helping us get some equipment set up for elections. And so they were in the office the entire day. And, as I was doing my best to focus on that, they got a chance to see all of the myriad types of requests and things I'm responding to over the course of every day. And it's often seeing the look on their face, they're seeing that breadth and just how there's so many things that are seemingly uncorrelated and unrelated. And again, I'm proud that I'm able to stand in and be there for that. But I think specialization, focus, definition within these offices and within all the roles within the offices is gonna have this snowball effect in terms of everyone's ability to perform to a higher standard. So there's a deadline of November 1 for the commission to consider passing a resolution that would formalize this type of splits to be reflected in the 2026 election cycle. And so I wanted to bring this up for conversation and discussion right now, so that currently the resolution that I'm working on and reviewing with the attorney's office can be considered at the second meeting in October. And hopefully this very common sense action, can be formalized and, next year in 2026, I intend to run would intend to run as the clerk under this scenario, leaving the auditor seats, open for another individual to run. Trying to think if there's any other items. Yeah, probably don't need to go on any further. It's mostly about getting the idea out there and seeing what sort of questions or concerns might exist so I can address them. Yeah.
My question was, if I understood when I read it, that you were talking about for this next fiscal year, taking your staff from 6 to 5, or are you? So I can see how that works with the proposed restructuring. But I'm confused to how it's going to work with the current restructuring.
Well, there wouldn't be a restructure that would officially take place until January 2027.
And that's what I mean, so.
So the reduction in staff it sort of is, it does sort of come along with this proposed restructuring. But it is also just targeted at a general need and responsibility that I feel like I have to the county and to the taxpayers to seek efficiency in my department. And that I'm taking that, responsibility.
I guess my concern is, to begin with, I really admire your dedication, your willingness to look at ways to save money. But second, I don't want the staff that remains to feel like they all of a sudden have more. They already have a hard job, and then now you've reduced it to 5. That's where I'm having a hard time seeing how it's going to work.
Yeah.
In 2026, I can see how having 5 people will work with the restructure, but I don't know how you can take an office that is already working incredibly hard, has a lot of responsibility, and reduce the staff prior to the restructuring.
Yeah, can I respond to that, Vice Chair, before the next commissioner asks a question?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I can articulate pretty clearly how that is going to work. And so there's the finance director position was added to my office at the start of the 2024 budget year. And it took about half a year for that position to be filled. And that has been that position has sort of operated and existed how do I say it? They've been in an office that they have been outside of them of my office physically and not involved in the day-to-day operations.
Mm-hmm.
And so what this reduction is going to allow me to do is to open up a seat in my office and bring that role directly physically into my office. And the person currently filling that role is highly capable and familiar with operations related to government and their experience with the city. And so basically they'll be able to assume a role that's involved in some of the daily operations and providing backup and being available to maybe handle deposits or, me and my team are going to sort that out. But by virtue of bringing that person physically into my office, and then some of those duties that maybe, might only be an hour a day, but I need to have someone available to do it. It's not going to take them too far away from their finance director duties. But since they're going to be physically in the office now, they'll be able to chip in that way. Yeah.
So is this opportunity only come up once every 4 years? Like we couldn't pass a resolution and then split the clerk auditor office out when there wasn't an election for said position. Is that right?
That is my understanding. Yeah, the statute reads that it would have to happen by November 1st of the year before the a formal separation would have to occur by the 1st of November the year before the election of the seat, and the clerk auditor seat is up for election next year. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I'm not sure, I guess there would have to be more analysis done. I mean, I think I'm not sure what type of action would have to be taken, but I think we all agree that we would rather avoid a situation where we're appointing these roles. We'd rather allow the voters to decide who's filling these important roles in the county.
Yeah, exactly. And then how many counties have in Utah have split out the clerk and the auditor offices? And are most of, I mean, I'm sure most of them are larger, but counties our size, are there a considerable number of
There
counties?
haven't been any other counties our size. I know that there's a lot of desire to. I know one of the limitations or things that have held, I believe that people that have held my office previous to me have expressed the same desire. I think the fiscal impact of adding another elected role and the compensation that's associated has been a holdup in that. And I think that this introduction of this finance director role in the office and the other transitions and this restructuring that I'm able to achieve, I think it gives us this opportunity to sort of fold things in and kind of consolidate. I guess it's the opposite of it is consolidating in some ways while also separating.
Right.
But specializing.
It makes sense. Yeah.
The restrictions we have currently in place.
And so the commission at our next meeting would likely have to pass a resolution calling for this. Is that a simple majority resolution or is it a super majority?
Yeah, I had to double check that because I wasn't sure, and it appears to be a regular majority. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, something.
No, I'm good. Those are my questions.
So you've seen, it'd be easy to create that resolution and get it to Stephen for him to look at.
He's got a draft already.
Oh, well.
And it's based off of Davis County did this split. They're obviously not comparable in size to us.
Want me to use?
So that was Curtis Koch and Brian McKenzie, both leaders in their own respect. But so I was able to,
use ChatGPT?
pick their brain about it and, yeah.
Any other questions? Besides from Mary's mouth.
I'm building a whole bunch. I'll talk to you during the week. Don't worry. I saw you were busy today. I mean, keep up. You have let me be part of a lot of the election safety and or double checking several times. And I know you guys are buried over there. But I'd love to talk to you a little more about this too.
Okay, yeah, please.
Did you have another question, John?
No, I'm good.
Hey,
Thank you.
Bill, you good online?
Sounds like a good idea.
All right, thank you, Gabe. Let's move on to our next, which is our general business action items. And I guess first commission member disclosures and future consideration. Have them today? Go ahead, Mary.
A future consideration to make sure that we have on our next election, the resolution. And if we are interested in the cloud seeding, it sounds like that's going to that seems to have a bit of a deadline. If we, in the next meeting, if it's just getting a group together to talk to other entities, but to make sure that we are formally, that it's not just something we talk about and that it goes into the etho. So something about, I'd like those things on the next agendas.
Sounds good.
Was that first one, Mary, the resolution about the clerk auditors?
Clerk auditor and then,
Got it,
yeah.
right.
and I don't know, do you know if they've done a presentation to the city, Lorraine?
I don't think so. So far what I've known is they've presented to GWISA and they're going to go present to the city of Monticello. And I think they're going to also try to get San Juan in that as well.
What is it?
Which is the
Next
city.
week is the city's
Meeting.
commission meeting, council meeting. So it'd be nice if.
I can chat with Ben and see if he
Yeah,
can
see
get
if he
them.
could do that,
Yeah.
get on their agenda ASAP, because I'm sure they're kind of like us. Getting their agenda ready for next week right now.
I did hear from Ken Miner though at our last water meeting that they have been pumping for irrigation for the last 2 months already. Moab City, so.
We have, it's gonna help, great.
It does seem like on the cloud seeding, like maybe speaking to some of the counties in western Colorado or even Grand Junction would be ideal since the weather moves that way. So seeding here might benefit some of those areas.
But my understanding was that, we definitely would want to talk to Paradox at least, just because, I mean, I think that we might be filling up, Buckeye.
Right.
Do they have any money?
Doubt it.
Even a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, no disclosures today? Okay,
Yeah, I'll just make a quick disclosure. I was at that, which one item number was it? It is item number 11. I know, me and Jack both did the bicycle in the national parks meetings, so just wanted to put that out there.
okay.
I was there too.
So we'll move on to number 2 is the approval of the consent agenda items. So minutes for the meeting of September 16th, 2025. Ratification of the payment of bills. Total bills was $2,334,280.81. Total payroll, which is 2 payroll cycles, is $881,550.81. So the total bills and payroll together is $3,215,769.62. We have the ratification of the First Amendment to the parking contract at the airport, ratification of the emergency purchase of backflow assembly for OSTA fire suppression system, ratification of the National Opioid Settlement Participation Contract, ratification of local consent liquor license for the Utah Avalanche Center, ratification of local consent liquor license for Grandier Oktoberfest, letter to legislators opposing any legislation that would allow bigger and heavier trucks, board member applicant consideration for the Old Spanish Trail Arena Advisory Committee, board member applicant considerations for the Grand County Fair Board, a recommendation to the state of Utah for 2 appointments to the Grand County Water Conservancy District Board, the ratification of the All-American Wash Emergency Watershed Protection Construction Contract, contract approval for the Parental Defender through 2025 to 2027, the contract approval for the Conflict Parental Defender 2025 to 2027, the contract approval for the Conflict Public Defender for 2025 to 2027, and the separation agreement, general release and waiver. Mike?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner McCreary. A first and a second from Mary McGann. Any?
One thing I wanted to,
Yeah, we don't normally discuss consent.
I just wanted to say thank you for composing and getting that letter on concerning the trucks. I think that's a real important letter and it was well, thank you for doing it.
All right, so
Can I make one more note on the appointments? I know that this is normally when you guys have your appointments, you guys put it on the general business item. It's my understanding that the number of applicants to the number of positions was either equal to or less than the number of open positions. That's why it wasn't on the public discussion, just noting that for the public.
okay, so I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so that's 6-0 with Commissioner Hadeen absent. And we'll move on to number 3, which is the Street Light LED conversion project agreement with Rocky Mountain Power. And Cody is here with our roads department to talk about this.
Thanks for the time. This kind of was brought to my attention kind of last minute, but the city is kind of jumping on board with this, so I figured we better take a look at it from the county's perspective. One main point is the high pressure sodium bulbs that the county currently has in our. We've got a few more lights in 47, but this is going to cover 47 on our street lights. They're starting to get dated, couple $300 an hour to get the power company to come out to change those bulbs and those. And the life cycle on them it doesn't really push the 10-year initiative like the LED upgrades would. Looking into it, I feel it's going to be a pretty good deal. I think it'll meet the conversion with the comfort lenses will be in that dark sky initiative. So I think it's going to be a good benefit to the county to get these upgraded, put us on a kind of a 10-year life cycle with a warranty back on these lights as far as maintenance. I don't know if you guys had any questions on that.
How long does the sodium bulb last, Cody?
I don't really know. Usually they're 3 to 5 years. Is kind of what I've researched. We're kind of working on 2 to 3 a year is about what our kind of since I've been in the road department, that's about where it's at. So one thing that I did talk into Pacific Core and Rocky Mountain Power, these do have a 10-year warranty on them to switch these to LED.
Does that include, putting them out there?
Yeah, this is them coming in and putting them, installing them on contract, yeah.
Okay, so Mike has his hand up first.
I'd like to make a motion. I move to approve the LED streetlight replacement quote and to authorize the roads department to proceed with project with Rocky Mountain Power.
Should he state the quote?
I don't think we can state the quote.
There is a quote there. So there was a quote with the,
Do I need to state the quote?
Yeah, might as well, if it's in there.
I'm sorry, I thought these were attached to them. Am I doing it up to you?
That is
What's the total?
fiscal impact, $10,837.22.
Correct.
Okay, and I think not seconded. Do we have any more discussion?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Gabriel.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify, I did add it into the agenda summary. I wasn't sure if it made it on there, but given Cody's description and of this crew coming in already making replacements here in the valley, and trusting his discretion and understanding of this kind of work. I did authorize this as a sole source purchase rather than going out for informal quotes for this work. And that this would be coded out of the roads capital project fund, which is Fund 35, just clarifying those two items.
Thank you. All right,
I got one more question.
Yep.
okay,
And so is there any specialized skill to install these lights?
As far as replacement,
Yeah, as far as replacement,
like after the 10-year.
well, even in the 10-year, I mean, are we gonna be stuck waiting for a crew to come out from Salt Lake to help?
I don't think so. It sounds to me like they're pretty much plug and play.
Okay.
Talking to Pacific Core anyway. I mean, their contract is gonna.
So it's something that can be done locally.
Correct, yes.
So
Mike,
I actually like that you included power savings approximate $33,500 per year with the knowledge of the product. I can only say from my own experience, first day I go into a house or a rental, change them all over to LED,
Yeah,
saves us money.
and it's roughly a 3-year return on investment too, so it's not we'll definitely have the return on investment before the warranty period's up, so it should be some peace of mind for the county for sure.
all right. Any other questions, comments? Okay, call for a vote. So we had a motion by Mike and a second by Jacques. So all in favor?
Aye.
All right. 6-0 with Commissioner Dean absent. Thank you, Cody.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, and then I'm just gonna reiterate that items number 4, which is the ordinance for the major utility overlay of for the water tank for the Moab City, and number 5, the ordinance for the rezone parcel for the Novak subdivision, and number 6, the Grandview Business Park subdivision final plat approved, have all been moved to next meeting, October 21st, because they're all legal, along with number 13, which is the contract approval for the public defender. So those will all be moved to the October 21st meeting. However, even if you're here at 6 o'clock, you can still speak if you want to, but just letting you know that those will not be voted on tonight. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to number 7, which is the acceptance of the FAA Airport Improvement Program Project Grant 3-49.0020-049-2025. And I think Commissioner Winfield's gonna talk about that.
Sure, and that's just an expansion of the concrete parking for the larger jets. Currently, I believe that parking pad can only house one larger jet or 2 smaller ones there. So this is going to allow us to park other jets that currently will drop off their customers or their clients and then fly on to somewhere else and park their equipment because we don't have adequate parking. And so they end up over in Grand Junction or somewhere else where they can get better service and have parking. So this is a big plus for the county for sure. I believe this is just over 9 million with a 5% match by the county. I think it was 453, 750. And so that's a huge return on our money there with being able to come up with an improvement that'll be with us for the lifetime of the airport out there. And this was started by the former, or applied for by the former airport director, Tammy Howland, and then which has subsequently been worked on by our current director, Steve Gleason. And I think through the efforts of both of those and what little participation I've had, this is an easy win for the county in my mind. And that's all I've really got to say about it, unless anybody wants to have any questions or whatever.
All right, Mike, can you get your hand up first?
To make the motion, I move to accept the FAA Airport Improvement Program Project Grant 3-49-0020-049-2025 of up to $9,075,000 in grant, and with a 5% match up to $453,750.
Okay, there's a second. Brian, seconds. Any more discussion? Doc?
Yeah, I had a question. So it says the county's on the hook for a matching grant up to $453,750. Says it is approved and within budget. Was that budgeted for last year, or is that just because it's not out of budget on account of it should be drawn from the capital improvements? Do you know, Gabe? Is that?
I don't know.
Anyone know?
I'm not sure. I believe this was on the former capital list budget that was put together back when Ms. Howland was still the director there.
It was on that list, or?
Yeah. My memory is it was. She talked about it.
Okay.
Okay. The rest is coming out of capital though?
So it's capital improvement.
Yeah.
One other question real quick. And then it includes the pavement for, it says in the backyard, it also includes the pavement in front of the red tail hangar. Is that adjacent?
Yeah, and so that is a stretch of pavement that starts near our terminal and then goes in front of actually our hangar, although Red Tail is currently leasing that from us. So that these improvements go all along the front of Grand County's property there, along the all the way up, I believe, to just, what would that be, north of the building that we have our fire trucks in there.
Okay.
So it does go in front of what's considered the Red Tail hangar, but that Red Tail hangar is owned by the county and leased to Red Tail.
Okay.
So just to clarify, I just pulled up the 2025 pre-authorized capital procurement list. And it's not actually on that list. Just wanted to clarify that.
So, do you mind if I?
Go ahead.
So it's not on that list, so it's ostensibly not in the budget? Or is it just, it doesn't matter because it's a capital improvement, but it's not pre-authorized?
Yeah, so it's budgeted for by virtue of what we budget to expend out of capital. But I can't speak to the degree to which this has been raised or contemplated or considered prior.
So this, along with the previous capital improvement that we allocated to the airport a couple meetings ago, would bring those total allocations up to over 1.2 million or so, right? Just
Yeah, I mean, it's $725,000 was a loan to the airport, so it will be paid back.
this.
And then this is a $9 million grant with a 5% match, so.
But we're pulling 1.2 million out of capital improvements. Okay.
We are.
Okay, just okay, thanks. Just wanted to clarify that.
Sure. We're pulling 1.2 million out to gain $10 million basically worth of grant money here. So
Okay.
700,000 of that is gonna be repaid.
Okay,
We're all having questions right now.
sometime.
Throwing it out.
Okay, so we have a first by Commissioner McCurdy and second by Commissioner Martinez. I'm gonna call for a vote. So all in favor?
I'm just.
And-
saying.
Aye. Okay, so we have 5 with 1 abstention, that's Commissioner Heather, and 1 absent, that's Commissioner Padine.
And just clarifying your vote, Commissioner Hadley, because we didn't ask for it in a standard way. You're abstaining, correct?
Correct. Yes, thank you, Steve.
Normally we just make sure, because then otherwise if the record didn't catch him saying he's abstaining.
Great, yeah.
Okay, so moving on to number 8, which is the award for the contract for Grand County External Audit Services for the 2025 audit. That is Mr. Winfield.
Yes, and so in our recent audit committee meeting, we went over the proposals. We had one from the Rich May, we had a second one from Larson's, and the third one was from, I believe, Squires. And it came down to a discussion and a vote over the Rich May client and Larson's, and there was a split vote to send a recommendation to the full commission from the audit committee to go with Rich May, and that was a vote of 2 in favor, 1 against, and Mr. Hadler voted and discussed, I believe, wishing to stay with Larson's. And so that's where we are with that one, and we can open it up for discussion.
Go ahead, Jacques.
Sure, I'll just say why I thought that Larson's was the better choice. I think our consultant that we pay, Karen Curtin, said that generally up to 5 years is a kind of a standard or a good amount of time to stay with one auditing firm before switching them out. We've been with Larson's for 3. It was also discussed that it can be a advantage staying with a firm that is familiar with the county. So we have strong familiarity with Larson's. I think they've done a great job in the past 3 years. They're efficient. Also on the Richie May proposal, it looked to my eye, part of this proposal was doing the audits for our component units, and the Richie May kind of just gave a very low, but also a kind of a ambiguous proposal for those units, and they were all the same, even though the size of those units varies greatly. I think Larson's a lot more familiar with what they're getting into as far as the whole audit goes. And lastly, I think the Larson's proposal, if you look at some of the variables, I think it would end up being less expensive. The Richie May proposal doesn't include travel, of which they suggested that it might take 3 or 4 people a week of time in the county to work on that. So that could add up to another, I don't know, 3 to 4 people eating and staying here during our busy season, which would be April. Could cost up to $10,000 to the county in addition. Those are some of the main reasons that I thought that Larson's was better. Also, if you look, they're all attached. I just thought that Larson's proposal worked better. I think it presented better also.
It's clear. It's more concise.
And they also have, to keep going, they also have a lot more county experience. Richie May didn't have any experience auditing a county, at least in the state of Utah. I think the city of Tooele was the only kind of municipal or county entity that they'd done previously. And Larson's is very experienced.
Go ahead, Mike.
I think Commissioner Winfield was up before me.
Go ahead, Commissioner Winfield.
Jacques, maybe you missed it, but I do know that after our discussion with the audit committee that Richie May sent in an email with a laundry list that was quite lengthy of government entities that they've worked with. So I do think that they covered that base quite well and that their experience is pretty extensive in that area. So I wouldn't think that that would be a concern with this moving forward. And I do see some value in sticking with somebody, as you suggest, but I also think that after coming through the trials and tribulations that we've had between the state audit and other thoughts, that it would be worthy to get a new set of eyes on our books and to get a little bit different look at it. And so I think there's high value with Richie May, and speaking to the additional costs, I think that we can hope and expect that maybe they'll do their best to keep those down. So I think that a move forward here would benefit the entire county, and I look forward to it.
Okay, Mike.
Sorry, I'm still in this one.
Hey, I just want to.
Jock, you said that the Richie May gave lower numbers to component units, like special service districts is what?
Right, yeah, those component units, I think they're listed out on the thing, I just remembered it from the audit.
I know a lot of my special service districts as liaison, as voting member, would love to pay lower bills on that with continued good service. So no lack in service and lower bill, but a lot of my boards that I'm on, they don't use Larson, Richie May, or anyone. They use a third party.
Sure.
So I would love the audit committee to at least get a mention out there that Richie May is offering those services to component units also.
It's
a conversation that's going to be.
Yeah, right.
Or like if
Yet to be
Richie May is
determined.
like, I would love that conversation. Even if Larson was willing to do it, in any reduction in cost of services to our special service districts, gives them more financial assets. But either way, on this, I would love for that to continue further after this conversation.
Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, so just real quick, maybe just one of the things that the audit committee has discussed is one of the reasons that our audit is late every year is because the component units is due at the same date that our audit is due, statutorily. So basically, the component units can wait all the way up until the same date as we are required to post our audit. So the idea of including the component units is that the county might be able to fund some of these component units, and also that we might be able to get a little bit of a deal because we're basically buying a volume for all of these audits. And if there's one person that's doing it, they will be incentivized to make sure that audit is done on time, right? Rather than having 3 or 4 different auditors, who are sending in the reports come, I can't remember, what is it? Is it July 1st?
Yeah,
I think it's July 1st. And then the county having to go through those audits and then present our own audit. So this is going to be an incentive that we will be able to provide for these folks. Just a couple of other things right there. So when we did talk about the price on there, it really looked like the price was probably going to be pretty similar. Because as Richie May did not include the travel to come out here and provide on-site services, Larson's does not include the county single audit on there either. So when you actually took those two, it looks like they kind of balanced out when we were looking at the price. Also on that 5 years that Karen had kind of quoted on right there. I did go back because I was trying to remember where I heard the 3 to 4 years at, because that was the question that I asked him. I looked here, and here's our internal audit finding, October 1st, 2020. I just want to read a couple of things real fast. So on September 23rd and 24th, the county internal auditor, Cody Dieter, with EFG Consulting, along with John Hatterley with Larson Company, met with county staff. Our goal was to review both the written policies and procedures, along with observing actual procedures. Our interviews included staff in the county clerk's office, the treasurer, the recorder, the county commission. We are also received written comments and concerns by county administration prior to meetings. And then hold on, get to the next page. I did a quick screenshot because it was older than I had. So yeah, and then second, the current audit is 4 months late. The clerk auditor and the county administrator were both unsure why there was a delay. An external auditor should be proactive in communicating with the county data needs and timing. We suggest that an external audit function should be bid out every 3 to 4 years to ensure top service and market rates. This policy should be added to the clerk auditor's written policies. Now that's coming right there directly from Larson and John Hatter. The third thing that I just kind of wanted to bring up right there is the experience. And I think that both of the firms carry the experience that we're looking for. So I think that sending this out to bid, right, or I'm sorry, just selecting a new auditor, I think was a wise choice by the audit committee.
Go ahead, Jacques.
Just the point that it says it should be sent out to bid. It doesn't say replaced. And we pay Karen a lot of money to sit on those audit committee meetings and advise us. She seemed to think that the way I took it anyway is that the standard was 5 years or possibly even more, but.
I have a comment. Today, I mean, I was in my meetings with other component units and they mentioned that 3 to 5 year timeframe to switch up their auditors as well. So I mean, I don't know if that came from John's recommendation or if it's standard auditing procedures, but definitely that 3 to 5 year.
And it's
Came up.
free.
And go ahead, John, Mike.
I'd like to make a motion. I move to award the contract for Grand County external audit services for the 2025 audit to Richie May proposal, or following the Richie May proposal of Grand County Utah.
I'll second.
All right, Mike is first and Brian is our second, and go ahead, Jacques.
I was just wondering, since our clerk works closely with the auditor, if there was anything he might care to weigh in on. Or not.
You know, I think like my own ethical compass in my particular position, given that this, the external auditor is independent from my office and audits my work. My goal is to seek a quality professional relationship with whomever is selected. I'll offer that I do have a, quality working relationship with our current auditor. But I feel like I think that there's some limitations into, how I would seek to influence the board in this decision.
Any other comments? I think that Hatterley has done a fantastic job. They did the component unit for the Canyonlands Healthcare Special Service District this year. And they were really happy and impressed with them. I think that we need to continue the discussion on maybe on next meeting, we could do a vote on what that incentive would be for our component units. So once we select the auditor, that we would have a discussion and whether we're gonna incentivize them with half of their audit paid for, what that would be. I think we should next agenda. Go ahead, Brian.
Just real quick, so I believe that the numbers came in at like $7,000 for the audits. So
7 to 8, right?
Yeah, 7 to 8. And so you're looking at the Canyonlands Care Center, they're already just with the bulk of us getting these things right there would probably be saving anywhere between $4,000 and $5,000 right there off of what they paid last year.
Yeah, and obviously we wouldn't be able to force them to do anything. They all have their own unique options, but this would be something that we could incentivize them and explain to them the reasoning why behind it. All right, if there's no more discussion, I'll call for a vote. So we had a first by Mike and a second by Brian. Recommending Richie May. Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
And all those opposed? Okay, so that vote is 4-2 with Commissioner Hadler and McGann opposed and Trisha Dean absent. So I'm going to go ahead and let Tess come up. Do you want to come up? You have to wait around. I think we have you a little bit further at the last. And that we don't have to wait. We can go ahead and bring that. So we're going to go ahead and skip to number 15, which is the 2026 health insurance benefit renewal with our personal services director, Tess Hadler.
All right, thank you everybody very much. So for this, and I'll go ahead and I apologize, I hadn't logged on to the Zoom meeting yet, sorry. So I'll start talking while I'm simultaneously trying to do that. All right, so we have for the last several years not gone out to bid for our insurance benefits. The reason for that is that we have been with Cigna, and Cigna for the last several years either gave us a 0% renewal rate or a very minimal renewal rate of about 2-3%. So there really hasn't been a reason. We've been very happy generally with the coverage that we've had through them. This year, we initially received approximately a 14% renewal rate. Cigna then came back with an 8.7% renewal rate. And we decided to go out to bid. Generally, I think it's an important practice for us in personnel services to go out to bid every several years, both for this as well as for other items that we have held within our office, just to ensure that we are making sure that we're still continuing to make the best choice. But that increase also certainly was part of the reason that we went out to bid this year. So, and I apologize, I'm not being as good at multitasking as I promised I would be. So yes, we went out to bid. Our benefits administrator, GBS Benefits, assists us in doing that. So they collected bids from a variety of insurance companies. We went out to bid both for our medical insurance as well as our dental and vision insurance plans. And I'll be able to go over the details of that. So while I included information on the agenda of all of the bids that we received, the one that I'm primarily going to be focusing on talking about is our bid that we received from PEHP. It's quote 3. It's on the first attachment for the agenda item. And again, I apologize for getting locked on. So I'm going to continue to just explain while I'm going. So the bid that we received from PHP is for, actually, they gave us a decreased renewal rate that would be in effect for 2026 for our medical insurance of 3.8%. And I'm just waiting to be let in on the meeting now. Great, thank you very much. All right.
Sorry, put you on the hot spot now.
That's fine. I apologize that I wasn't able to just jump into the hot spot. Typically that's I can do it. Okay. And I'll pull up what I'm talking about as well so that it's not totally in the dark.
And this is the last exhibit on item number 15 in the packet.
Yes, thank you.
If county employees are looking at it with bated excitement about what insurance changes there are to come.
Okay. All right. Okay. So again, Cigna is who we've currently been with. And the initial renewal rate that we received was the 14.9%. They came back with an 8.77%, and then they actually, it's not provided in this chart, but they came back with one best and final offer of 4.78% after all of the other bids had closed. The reason that we're recommending PEHP is the only other option that we would consider is because the health insurance, the medical insurance coverage is very comparable. The plan of the two, there are two quotes. There's quote 3 and quote 4 from PEHP. Quote 3, employees are allowed to choose a plan that's called the Advantage Plan or a plan that is called the Summit Plan. The big difference is that one of the plans lets you use IHC, so Intermountain Healthcare Systems providers. The other plan includes non-IHC providers, so University of Utah, for instance, is the big one. Some providers accept both of those plans, so there are only certain providers that employees would really have to sit down and consider, is it better for me to go with Advantage or is it better for me to go with Summit? This plan would also cover, we have a lot of staff that access healthcare in Grand Junction. So while there may be some providers that have some different acceptance of PEHP, coverage in Grand Junction would be comparable in terms of the providers that accept it. There may be some difference in terms of how much claims cost in Grand Junction. So employees might have to take on extra cost if they are going to Grand Junction regularly for medical reasons, depending on who their provider is, what services they're receiving, et cetera. The other main difference between PEHP and Cigna is there is a minor increase in pharmaceutical costs on the PEHP plan. There are 3 different levels of how pharmaceuticals are essentially ranked in price, and the increase in those plans would be $5, $10, or $15 per prescription based on what that prescription is. So again, the context of this is Cigna has worked really well. We've gotten either neutral to very good feedback from staff on the service, the medical coverage of Cigna. The real reason, the primary reason that we have looked at recommending PEHP is because of the ongoing identified concerns about budget constraints in the county. We want to ensure that we are, if there is a possibility for us to provide comparable health support to our staff while also ensuring that we're able to provide support to staff in other ways, such as ensuring that we have a better ability to advocate for a cost of living adjustment, or we have the ability to preserve more positions, then we want to be able to prioritize that. So again, the big differences between Cigna and PEHP are there will be some pharmaceutical increases to prescriptions, and there may be some difference in what providers are covered for employees. So anytime you switch insurance plan, there is going to be a learning curve. It might benefit some people, it may be neutral for some people, and it may not benefit some people. So those are the primary factors that we were looking at as we went through this renewal process. In terms of our dental and vision, we recommend that we stay with Cigna. For those, we got a 0% renewal rate for both this year, and by this year I mean 2026 as well as 2027, and those have been working well for us. And then we're recommending that we keep all of our voluntary and supplemental insurance options the same for staff as well. One more important note regarding PEHP is that in addition to that decreased rate of 3.8% this year, which would result in a savings of $114,000 roughly, is that they are giving us a locked-in renewal rate of 7.2% for 2027. And by that locked-in rate, not a cap, but it would be 7.2%. The primary benefit of having that locked-in rate is that we know exactly what to budget for going into 2027. It's not going to be a surprise when we get bids back in, September, October of, are we going to, get a renewal rate of 20% or something like that. And that's not abnormal. There are some employers in the community that got a 30% renewal rate. So even the fact that we were able to get Cigna down to that 4.78% is really, really excellent and not very common. But again, if we went with PHP, we'd have the decrease this year and then a guaranteed rate for 2027 so that we know exactly what to budget for. Additionally, PEHP, based on the way that they're structured, they're able to keep their rates a bit flatter. They're in essentially a government pool. And so if we have a year where we have a lot of utilization of our health plan, we're not necessarily going to feel the pain of that with a really high renewal rate. So there's, again, more consistency. There's not as much volatility of, last year we got a 0% renewal rate from Cigna, and this year we initially were quoted a 14% renewal rate. That's a lot harder for us to anticipate and budget for year to year. What questions do we have? Yes.
So on the PHP, it does cover visits to St. Mary's.
Yes, it
Okay.
does.
And sorry, just to clarify, so the employees get a choice of the two networks, is that right? Or
Yes, that's correct. So the quote 3, and that's the reason it's not as cost savings, quote unquote, as quote 4 is because we would be giving employees the option of Advantage or Summit. For both Advantage and Summit, it has the same Grand Junction, Colorado coverage. The big difference between Advantage and Summit plans are what network people want to go to within Utah.
okay, but that whole junction, all the standard medical facilities in Junction that are currently available to people would still be available.
It's very commonly utilized. PHP is very commonly utilized. In Grand Junction, the city has PHP. I spoke with them. They said that there was a learning curve when they switched over to it, but generally their staff have been happy with the insurance. What I will say is coverage is a very complicated question because even if, say, the providers on the west side of the hospital accept an insurance, a provider on the east side of the hospital may not be in network with that insurance. So that's a really hard question to give a hard yes or no to. It's unfortunately a little bit more complicated than that. Our staff may feel some differences, but individuals with PEHP who live in our community do access Grand Junction healthcare.
Okay.
Yes.
Um,
Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure who.
I think Steve.
Yeah, I think Stephen has hand.
Just kind of odd nuance. I think only one, I know Commissioner is gonna let everybody know that, of course, White works for the Sheriff's Department. So it's an odd note that most of the commissions aren't covered under the insurance. I had a question for you regarding HSAs. So under this plan, I'm assuming you'll have a high deductible plan and.
Excellent question. Yes. So really what we're looking at is changing coverage. Our plans for employees would be the same where we have a high deductible option and a traditional option. The high deductible option means that you have a higher deductible before your insurance starts kicking in. And one of the reasons that we went this route is ultimately over time, insurance is going to increase in cost. Our options are either we take on that additional cost, we share that cost with employees and start having employees pay higher premiums, which we really don't want to do, or we have to look at adjusting what plan we're with. Ultimately, we are going to over time increase the amount that we're paying for insurance because that's ultimately something that's out of our hands. Yes, Mike.
Mine's twofold here. One, my wife works for the Sheriff's Department. I am actually insured underneath our healthcare. Two, has there been any direct? Okay. Our county employees use a varied amount of services from Colorado to Intermountain Health up north. Do we have a direct, hey, Cigna hits all these and fills the needs right now, but we have gaps here and here? And do we have PHP will miss these and will hit these needs right now? I mean, have we asked the employees this? Have we? Because this decision, we spoke earlier, this decision goes far past the commission, as I'm one of few that are actually insured by us. But this decision affects employees that are here far past electeds. So it really matters what we make this one.
Yeah, it absolutely does. No, I greatly appreciate that. And that's one of those things of there are charts available and resources available to staff that they'll be able to do provider lookups, et cetera. What I will say is in looking at the various charts, there are a few hospitals that neither the Advantage or Summit plan covers that Cigna does, but there are some hospitals that Cigna doesn't cover that Advantage or Summit does. And so really what I think we're looking at is that, again, there may be some employees who have absolutely no impact whatsoever. There may be some employees who perhaps have better opportunity to select a provider that's in one of those hospitals that isn't currently covered by Cigna. And there may be some employees who are seeing a specific provider or going to a specific hospital or care center that doesn't accept one of these plans, and they may have to change or make decisions about if they want to stay on and pay out of pocket.
Okay. And this is part of the question too. In that, do we have any hard deadlines that we have to do this today? Or are we able to put a little bit more work onto it into our next meeting? Or is the hard deadline coming up?
It's a fairly hard deadline. And the reason for that is that open enrollment starts in approximately 1 month, and we have to give our benefits administrators time to start getting everything set up in our system for our staff to start enrolling. It is technically an option to push back open enrollment by a week or so. It's just going to put a lot of crunch on things.
Well, I don't say this lightly. I very much appreciate your opinion on looking towards PHP, but I would love to pose that question to Mark Tyner. I would love to hear from all staff, if possible, as quickly as possible on this. I would have loved to hear him before this conversation today, but I've heard from some now, and I would love to hear from more before making my decision on switching or staying with Cigna. I mean, if some form could be done there.
Yeah, I think I've obviously had insurance outside of the county for 25 years, and I've never been asked when my company changes their plans. They just do it. And it is telling I'm curious, how long have we been with Cigna at the county?
We've been with them for at least 3 years.
3 years. Yeah. I mean, it does get changed, like we talked about with the auditors, changing based upon that. And it is some love it, some hate it. It makes you have to change, but generally you're like general practitioner doctors that live in our community generally fall on both. But it's a specialty going out of town and stuff that it affects. But like I said, I've never been asked as an employee, just saying, and I think Brian was next.
Perfect, yeah. Whole bunch of my questions got answered in right here. But the couple that I still have left. So do you consider the PHP as similar as possible to the Cigna coverage?
Of the bids that we received, I consider it as comparable, I think as comparable, while also looking at the fact that it would be beneficial to switch to it additionally because of the identified budget constraints that have been expressed by the commission throughout this year.
Quality wise, you think that we're talking?
I think that the one area that I wouldn't say it's 100%. And the reason I say that is because prescriptions are going to go up for those that utilize that by $5, $10, $15. Some people bill prescriptions very often. The other item is if somebody very heavily uses that Grand Junction area network and I apologize, I'm going to get into the weeds, but it's simply because that's the best way that I can describe it. So PEHP contracts, they use, it's either called a wrap network or a rental network, but they essentially use a different health network in Colorado. It's called First Health. First Health is not as large. They don't have as, essentially in the industry, what they say is they don't have as much kind of weight to throw around for hospital contracts. So they can't negotiate as good of rates all the time. So it may be that because First Health is a little bit smaller, doesn't have as much weight to throw around as Cigna, that for some hospitals, getting services there is going to be more expensive, which means that for those claims, some of that additional expense may get passed off to the employee. If they have a 20% copay and the flat bill is higher, they're going to have to pay more in that 20%. So again, it's very difficult to say firmly, this is better or this is worse. There are certainly some considerations when it comes to the fact that if we switch, there are some employees that are going to have to make adjustments, and that is the reality.
I think Mark do you have more? Sorry.
I
Brian.
do, but Mark, if you want to go ahead and jump in, that's.
No, I was just going to ask, did you say earlier that the option that you're recommending at this point is a little bit more expensive than the most savings the county?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, so we either, for PHP, the two options that they quoted us, option 3 gives staff the ability to choose either that Advantage plan or the Summit plan. For quote 4, we as an organization would make that choice for all of the staff and say, we as an agency have decided that the majority of staff would benefit from the Summit plan or would benefit from the Advantage plan, would not have a choice. So that's why we went with option 3.
Yep, and just real quick then to follow, just to finish up. So for Cigna, we're coming off of a 15% increase from last year. Is that correct? 14.9?
8.77.
No, I think that we're coming in from 2025. We're coming in on a 14.9% increase previously, right?
No, Cigna quoted us a 0% renewal rate coming into 2025.
Okay.
So nothing changed,
Nothing.
which is pretty amazing. That doesn't happen very often. I believe that there was a 0% or a very, very, maybe at most 2% renewal rate the year prior to that. This year, it did go up to their initial quote they gave us for this year was 14.9%. That has to do with our utilization. The last few years have had really good years where people are healthy and there aren't really big claims. This year, our staff utilized our insurance more, which is what it's there for. But the insurance companies aren't going to take all of that hit on their own. They pass some of that off to the employers. And so that's why we saw that bigger renewal rate this year. We did get them down from 14.9% to the best and final offer of 4.78%.
Got it. So it started out at.
So the first quote they gave us,
14.9, then it got down to 8.7.
and now we have it down to 4.78%,
Then now it's down to 4.
which is an increase of $140,000, about $143,000.
Chair, can I?
Go ahead, yeah.
If I help?
Ben was on the.
Yes, what am I doing?
No, you're fine, you're fine. I was just gonna say that, when we looked at this, Mark and Tessa and Mark, correct me if my memory is different from yours. Our number one priority and goal was to save the county money. And then our second priority was employee satisfaction with the healthcare system that we're providing. I tend to agree. I think Tessa's been almost too nice. But I agree that people are very happy with Cigna, and this is gonna cause a little bit of unhappiness among some staff, certainly. If that expense, if the 4% increase is something that the commission is willing to absorb, I think that we would see, generally speaking, happier staff staying with Cigna. But I do think that the savings that it represents to switch to PEHP it's certainly not zero. So I mean, if you guys say, hey, we're comfortable staying with Cigna, I think all the staff would breathe a collective sigh of relief.
Sure.
But I also think that switching to PEHP is a fairly comparable network system with some small challenges, and it is cheaper for the county.
And it was $178,000. Is that what it was? $178,000 with that 4% increase?
Well, with the 4.78% increase, it'll be $140,000.
Okay. And then if we went with PEHP.
There will be a reduction in $114,000 going into 2026.
A little over $250,000 difference.
PEHP also has quoted us a firm, 7.5% increase?
2% going into 2027,
So
so
we're
we know
guaranteed that
exactly what we're
increase.
looking at.
It also provides stability.
So anyway.
Thank you.
Let's see, did you finish your questions, Brian?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, Mary, go ahead.
One of the most important things for our employees and people who live in Grand County is network. How many networks, and it's hard. I'm not seeing it's hard to find where that is I would like to postpone this decision so that we can have something that really gives us a better and clearer idea of what is network and what is not. Because in Moab and Grand County, if something's not a network and you're in a hurry and you need to get to Grand Junction and it's not a network, that's a big deal, especially if it's if it's something that has to happen quickly. And my experience from my time working and having, insurance through the school district is when we found that when we stayed with more of a insurance that was national, that was more than just Utah, which PHP is pretty much just Utah, that the networking for PHP is a lot less, a lot more than I think we're seeing here. And I think almost everybody in Moab would agree that's a big deal. It's a really big deal for us to not have networking. And in the past years, we've had workshops to deal with where we have really had the opportunity to look at both things side by side with the picture, and so I would like to recommend that next meeting, before the meeting, we have a workshop to really look at, we want to save the money, but yet the hardship we're going to put our employees in if they can't get to an in-network person. It's a big deal. Or if they've been going and getting treatment right now with someone that is in network, and then we switch over and that person isn't in network, that person is going to be faced with, do we stay with this person because they know our history and we have this relationship and they've been helping us with our health issue and pay the extra money because they're out of network, or this is a huge decision, probably one of the biggest decisions we make outside of our budget as a whole general, and I would prefer a workshop.
Okay, Bill has his hand up.
Yeah, I would agree with Mary that we need to do a lot more research, or at least inform the commission, because if I was to make a vote on this tonight, I would have to vote against, because I just don't have enough information to feel comfortable with it. And so I would agree to pushing this out until we can schedule a workshop. But I also want to mention that, I think that our employees, it's important that we keep the coverage or the standard that they have consistently. But I also think that on the other side of this, there's a need to look at the fact that we represent a constituency in the county of which many or most do not have any insurance. So there's two sides to this sword for me. One is looking at the money savings that need to be considered, and the other is that what losses or gains that we have for our employees here.
So Mike, I would like to.
Mike's up, got his hand up first, sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
2 weeks put a big hiccup in deciding.
It will put a hiccup in it, we will make it work.
Okay, thanks.
But more than 2 weeks, we won't be able to, so we should definitely get that workshop on the books.
2 weeks.
And we could have it still on the agenda to vote that night.
Right.
But I think we can make a much better and more informed decision.
Can I add one possibility? Is it possible to have a representative? Would it be possible to have a representative from PHP be present to be able to show the maps or the networks?
I'll speak with our benefits administrator. We have not directly communicated with PEHP. Our benefits administrator does all of that coordination for us, but I can certainly speak with them and then see what.
Because I think that's the underlying goal, is to make sure that whatever change happens is ultimately a positive impact for them. And if we have something in a presentation from the provider themselves, if later it changes or it doesn't meet what we're anticipating, then it's not necessarily the commissioner's fault that they picked X network instead of Y network. And I think that's, without having them present, I think it's going to be really hard to provide what the commissioners are looking for in terms of information. just noting that.
So I think we're discussing about, we can do a workshop and vote on it in the same meeting.
Not
Technically,
in the workshop, but
No.
in the meeting.
right.
No, in the meeting.
And technically under policy, you guys do have it that if something's on for a workshop, then you technically are not supposed to vote on it, so you have to suspend policy. The one note, one reason why that exists is because often when we're looking at most of our workshop, it's not just receiving information, it's making modifications to an underlying contract, redlining, and that puts a lot of stress and difficulty on
That's
staff.
usually creating a resolution ordinance that we're workshopping, and that's why we're not doing it.
Correct, and instead, this is really just providing more information, and it doesn't necessarily change the motion at the end of the day. Instead, it's just, we want X or Y or whatnot.
Okay, I think that, Mike, were you in the middle of making a motion?
No,
No, do we have, Bill, you still have your hand up?
Yeah, I will, I'd like to make one comment and then I'll make the motion to postpone, but I know that multiple times I've made the request that we reach out and consider the insurance that is provided through UAC, the Utah Association of Counties. And I was just wondering if they had been considered or reached out to in regards to this change. And then you can answer afterwards, but I do make the motion to postpone this until we've had a chance to workshop it.
Okay, so Bill has a first, Mary has a second. I think, Jacques, did you have another comment?
Yeah, could we just, instead of doing a workshop, we could just call it a presentation, because it seems like it would be more of a presentation than a workshop and go about it that way.
Oh, okay.
And then that wouldn't violate policy and require suspension of policy.
Okay, fine.
semantics win.
So we'll do a presentation.
Yes, okay, and Commissioner Martinez.
Yeah, and I just think that this entire body up here should realize that there has been, having been involved in the Budget Advisory Board, there has been a lot of tough decisions that have been made trying to come up with this reduction that we're gonna have. And this is something that we are gonna have to be ready to start making some of these decisions. You know, I commend you guys for going out and finding this right here. I mean, it has been tough to try to find, you know, anything to cut out of our budget. I mean, every decision that you make is a tough decision. And I think weighing that of, you know, what we're basically losing in our benefits to what we might be gaining, I think is something that we definitely want to keep in mind. And I appreciate you bringing that up at the beginning of your speech.
And then to answer Commissioner Winfield's question, we did reach out to UAC and they utilize PEHP.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank
Tess.
you.
And then I guess I would need to change my motion if we are going to move to a presentation. Is that correct, County Attorney?
Yes.
So my motion would then be for a presentation at the next meeting.
I agree with it.
Okay, so we have a motion from Bill to postpone and have a presentation, and a second by Mary, so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that passes 6-0 with Commissioner Hedin absent, and that is perfect timing for us to go into our 6 o'clock citizens to be heard. Thank you, Tess.
Yes.
See you next meeting.
Good, thank you all.
So it's 6 o'clock, so we have our citizens to be heard at 6. Right at 6, yeah. So if there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak, go ahead.
You're like,
Why not? And you can sit at the podium or you can sit at the table. And say your name.
Name is Jim Martin. I live in Blue Vista Casitas. The subdivision that will be most directly impacted by the NOPAC rezoning request. A couple weeks ago, I sat here and was extremely opposed to the development. But my major concern being the impact of traffic on Zimmerman Lane for our children play. My opposition was formed by the information that I had available to me, which was as soon as I bought my house, I was pretty much informed by the neighbors that there was an adjacent 30-acre property was trying to be rezoned to 8 dwellings per acre, which would allow 240 units to be built there, and with no road out and which would make Zimmerman Lane for all those people. And our kids were out there, so that was, I think that's where most of my neighbors are. That was the information that was available. Since then, after that meeting, the Novak affiliated civil engineer pulled me aside. He had a plan. He showed it to me the first time I'd seen it. And it's not 200 units, it's 88 units. And it's not 8 units per acre. You know, 1 house per acre or half acre on the outer edge, and then a couple of quadplexes in the middle that probably won't get built. But the point is it's not a 240 dwelling impact in our area. It's 88. We need houses. Moab we only have so much land that is capable of being developed. I've looked over the plan. I've spent a significant amount of time with Ms. Novak talking about her plan and how her team let her down by not communicating this to the people impacted. But I've reviewed the plan. I think it's very professional. It's within reason. It is not outrageous. Now, there is still a road that has to be built out of there to connect to Stocks Drive. That is going to impact a property owner who my understanding is very much against that road being built through his property. However, I think there's an easement. I know the Commissioner Winfield was speaking to that a few weeks ago. Assuming that road can be built to get that traffic out of that development, I'm very much in support of the Novak rezoning. I think it's really a well-designed development, and we need it. And my son's here. He just moved here. He's trying to find a house. We need more houses for people to buy. It comes down to me. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, do we have anyone else in the audience like to speak? Come on up.
Hello, I'm Brenda Novak. It's really nice to get to meet you all in person. I am the trustee for the LeVar Moffitt Trust, which owns the property on Chapman. I feel like it's very important when somebody like me comes before you and asks for a development like this, that we get some sort of trust and knowledge of each other. I think trust is an important element in it, and that comes with knowledge. And so a little bit of background on me. I was born in Utah, Vernal, was raised in Salt Lake Valley, went to BYU, and I've lived in California since I married my husband, but Utah is home, will always be home. I hope to move back here on this property. I totally understand the neighbors' frustration with development and having high density. If I were living next to it, I would probably not want it either. We've been fine with leaving the property just vacant and let people use it. They've ridden their, motorcycles and quads and done target shooting but now that it's been in our family for 3 generations, and it's time to do something with it. And we feel like the highest and best use for this property is housing. It's something that Moab needs. So we want to do a well-designed, well-thought-out community where we have space for people to put their toys, possibly a garden that people can do together. So we have some great plans for it. Greg Upwall is the architect who designed it. I have taken a great deal of feedback from the neighbors, which is why we shifted to have the larger lots around the outside, trying to abut what they have. So it's like by like, and put any density toward the middle. We are asking for this. It's only 2.8 per acre, which is not a high density development, but there has to be a small level of density to be able to justify the risk that I will be taking on behalf of my family. I can't let them down. I'm the steward. I need to do this right. And at the same time, I can't let you down and I can't let the neighbors down. So I've been busy trying to make compromises that are reasonable and wise. And so anyway, I just wanted to let you know that, I'm here if you have questions. I think I've emailed most of you or all of you. And I have met with many of the neighbors. And as a person who counts success not by what I accomplish or how much money I make, but how many people I love and who love me back, this has been a great exercise because the people even that are on the other side of the fence have become very good friends. And so it's been fun to get to know everybody, and I hope to get to know everybody a little better. You. Okay, go ahead. Come on up.
Question for Stephen real quick.
Yes.
With the extension of moving several of these items to next meeting, do we still encompass any of these in public comment?
So all of these will be, any of the written comments will be received. The public comment period is through Wednesday, the day prior to our close, but it doesn't mean that information isn't relevant.
Okay, thank you.
Do I introduce myself?
Yes, please.
Okay. Patty Robinson. My 12.5 acres comprises the eastern edge of the property she's just referred to. And on the 15-foot setback on the parcel that applies to my house, there are some trees that have been planted. A core sample would probably show that they were 50 years old. On the other side, from my house parcel to my agricultural parcel, I planted a tree line about 34 years ago. And if Stocks Drive were realigned to the appropriate orientation, it would take out 56 mature trees. However, Stocks Drive as it currently exists is not in line with property boundaries. So you'd be thinking, if it was realigned, you'd be moving a fire hydrant, taking 15 feet off the Vansel property, and then an entire tree line, 56 trees worth. At one point, the county thought that putting the road through would just go ahead and take 104 trees out to establish a road. However, it's never been a road. We've done the maintenance on it. And I really don't want to miss having the end of the road to myself. I understand that we need property for younger people to move in here, but I should shut up.
Thank you.
Opposed.
Okay, do we have anyone else? Come on up. Oh. And then your son.
So, we left here.
Your name, please.
I'm Michelle Barton, Jim's wife. We came here a couple weeks ago for the meeting, and I think we were really opposed to it. There was so much miscommunication out there, and then the gentleman talked to us outside after the meeting, and we talked to him, and he really opened our eyes. And it was myself, my husband, another gentleman from our neighborhood was there, and so we kind of decided to talk to Brenda ourselves, get to the source itself and find out what's really going on. And after talking to Brenda, we really are for it because of how it's being developed. And, we have a newer generation coming in. Younger people want to come move here, and there's no actual houses or houses that are affordable for a younger person to buy. So, it's almost becoming a rich community. You have to be really wealthy to live here, apparently. And I think this could open up a lot of doors for a lot. That's all. As long as it doesn't go down my street and turn it into a freeway, I think I would be fine with it. So, thank you.
Okay. And you can go ahead and come up. Yep.
Okay, James Barton III, Jim's son. When I first moved here, I was against it because my kid loves playing on the road. And all of his friends play on the road. We didn't want the traffic. We've seen the plans. As long as there's an out street to Stocks, I'm for it. I'm a working participant in the community. and try and find a house, I'm bidding against people that just want to tear the houses I can pour down and put a bigger house. So it's hard trying to find somewhere reasonable that I can afford as a working part of the community. It adds places that people that want to build bigger house, they might be able, then have that more expensive, nicer house, and I can get the house I can afford. It also adds people to the community to help businesses on the off season. 200 more people that live in Moab, that's 200 more people that are going to go to the shops during off seasons, going to go to the restaurants, help owners. I'm for it as long as Zimmerman doesn't turn into a highway, and I think it'll be good. It's land that's not being used. I feel terrible for the lady that would lose part of her land, but we can only build so much in town here. We got walls on each side. You can't build on the wall. You gotta build, north-south. So that's my ideas. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, do we have anybody else in the chambers that want to speak? What about online, Quinn? Nobody online? Okay. Only once. We are going to move on to number 9 on the agenda packet, which is to allocate $250,000 for special event matching promotional grants for 2026. And this is by Commissioner Martinez.
Give me 1 second.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. Have a good evening.
So this is very similar to the $77,000, I believe, that we approved for 2025. It was not used. And what these funds are for is this is a matching grant. So if a special event was to be coming to Moab, they could apply for this grant. And they would say like, hey, we plan on marketing $10,000 for our grant. This grant right here would be used as a matching fund. So then they would have $20,000 available for a matching grant. And then they would, after they completed their event and shown receipts that this went towards advertising, this money would then be reimbursed to them. The reason that we have it on right now is rather than just in the budget, is what we're trying to do is we're trying to cast a wider net with who we offer this grant out to. So we're trying to utilize Madden and Camp Stories to try to bring in some different events and some at different times of the year. Some of the grant priorities, and I put this in here on the agenda right here, is year-round events. So trying to prioritize off-peak travel, growing existing events and new events, and then supporting existing events that we already have going, kind of in that order. So what this is just basically letting Camp Stories and Madden know that these are, that this money will be available for 2026, so that they can go out and start advertising this opportunity right here. Some of the things that they've come up with, might be music events, river events, night sky events, contacting rodeos, craft events, food events, just things that we haven't seen here previously. One that I really liked was, like dog skills events, because those actually happen in December. And so, that might be a nice time to bring something into OSTA or things like that. So just casting a wider net right there.
Good, Mary.
Question, I'm a bit confused. So it's going to cost, out of TRT promotional funds, $250,000, but we're not going to be spending up $250,000 until 2006. Is that what?
26, correct.
226, I mean,
Yeah.
206.
Yeah.
That was a 2026, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, but we need to do it with the reason we want to.
Now, so that we can advertise the opportunity now, so that we can actually, with the special events subcommittee, is trying to award those, to award these grants in first quarter rather than in third or fourth quarter like they did last year.
Much better.
Yeah, so they're just trying to improve that process. And so if we are gonna advertise it, they're gonna have to advertise that really, this October, November, December, if we're gonna try to get this out to people. And then the reason for the increase right there is they wanna have a little bit more flexibility. Like there could be a concert series that might be exciting, and someone might see this as, hey, this is a great opportunity for us to come and try to bring some music down. Or, a rodeo series might see this right here. So it's just trying to step up that game.
All right, Doc.
Would this be available to entities that are applying for special events in the city as well as the county?
It's in the county, yeah.
Cool. So like car show, for example, is permitted by the city.
Yeah, I mean, if car show was to come and basically, if they were to come and say, I would imagine that this money would be available for them.
This 250,000 is the total pool that was provided, not the total amount. It's
Correct. It's
obligated out. Or
It's not obligated out. And so what's been in discussion right now is, if, there was $100,000 worth of grants that they chose, basically the other 150 would just go back into the reserve fund.
Okay.
Okay. Mike? Oh, wait.
Oh, never mind. Yep.
Mike, Bill,
Next.
quick.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify, Commissioner Martinez, this is promotional money that would be used to bring people into the county, correct? And we would
Correct.
just be given grants out to match what someone else is spending. It would be a dollar for dollar match, basically.
Yeah, and we haven't figured out what that tier would be yet, or I'm sorry, not we, but the special events subcommittee has not figured out those tiers. But a lot of times when you think of marketing, people like to think of it like a great big funnel. And usually we attack the top of the funnel, which is that more expensive, wider reach when we're going. This is basically just providing an opportunity to attack more of the center of the funnel. So it is a marketing grant that says, we are bringing people in, but rather than trying to say that here is Grand County, it's more of somebody saying, we're going to come to Grand County and this is the number of people that we're going to come in. So it's just a little bit further down the funnel, a little closer to actual results and action.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bill, sorry, did you have more to say?
No, I was just thanking him, but I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve this.
Okay. And second,
I'll too.
Mike.
One more point here. Is that okay? I'll make sure it's okay here. With this, I like the clarification that receipts were provided on the tail end. We had some previous grants, just kind of slip through the floorboards, just on some of the receipts. I'd love to always keep an eye on that tab too.
And so right now, just to kind of give you a little bit more clarity, we're right now at the MTAB board is trying to put together the application.
Okay.
And inside that application, it should describe the process. A couple of things that they've talked about is first, they'd like to make sure that the event happens satisfactory, right? Like I think that part of it should be that they came here and did exactly what they were supposed to do. And then second, to get that, they'll have to show the receipts that they did spend that actually on promotion.
Cool.
So that the money stays all above board. Also, just real quick, the Moab Office of Tourism, Mick and Ally also provided what other counties are doing as well and how those programs are working.
Okay, quick question with that, if you know the answer to. I'm already biased to Grand County. Are we doing better than other counties? Are we on par with other counties with this? Are we?
I think we're just getting started.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Okay. So we got a motion by Bill with second by Mike, so I'll vote, all in favor? Okay, so that passes 6-0 with Commissioner Hedin absent. Number 10, acceptance of the 2024 TRT and TRCCA expenditure report. And this is presented by our clerk auditor, Gabriel Wojtek.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So per code, this was, this report was required, again, access to potential other sources of funding that HB 46 opened up related to TRT, if I'm not mistaken. I did vet this through the state auditor's office for some review before submission. Shared it with the Ohio Tourism Advisory Board. And it's being placed before you. I think, certainly if there are any big holes or, significant edits that need to be made, I'd be happy to submit an agenda to this report. It was due on the first of the month. Submitted. I look forward to submitting it with more advanced time so you all can review it prior to submission next year. And yeah, I think generally, I included a handful of other counties that are have kind of similar TRT revenue dynamics at their reports that they submitted for the same equivalent year. And I did that not necessarily to analyze like how we're spending these revenues, but mainly I just wanted to display that the importance that and the emphasis that I'm placing on Grand County taking leadership in its transparency and compliance, and the seriousness it takes in using TRT and being good partners with the state and reporting and sort of communicating those messages with the public and with the state, and take that really seriously. And I think you'll see that when you compare the report that I submitted with those other counties, it's evident the level of detail and care and attention I placed on it. So that's all I have.
Absolutely. I looked at all of them and I can definitely see difference in the reports there, but. Do you have any questions for Gabe? Or
I do.
okay, go ahead. Go.
Yeah, Gabe, you state in here that a final draft was shared with the state auditor's office. Did they return any comment on that?
They said it looked good. The degree to which they're going to offer, if there any more coaching than that, I can't say, but yeah, I did receive a positive response.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jacques.
I'll move to accept the 2024 Grand County TRT/TRCCA expenditure report as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, Bill seconds. And Brian has comment.
I actually have a question. So I believe that also in the HB 456, there was supposed to be a person in the state auditor's office that fills out with these. Has that position been filled yet?
Yeah, her name is Hadley Scott.
Hadley Scott.
She's been the person that I've been communicating with, along with Seth Ovison, regarding this report.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Jacques.
No, just great job, Gabe. I looked through all of them also, and this one is clearly very well detailed and reported, and that probably took a lot of time and energy. So thanks for your effort on that.
Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, yeah, and then just ask, and you don't feel that we need to include the addendums that we kind of talked about previously under the TRCC?
Yeah, I can reach out to Hadley and let her know that there's a sentence or two that I could add. And if it's, I don't see why that would be a problem with submission. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. There's no more comments. I will call for a vote. We had a motion by Jacques with a second by Bill. So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that passes 6-0. Commissioner Hadid absent. Number 11. Appoint representatives to the Bicycle Access Improvement to National Parks Group. And Commissioner Winfield, did you want to talk about this?
Sure. There was an email sent in and by the National Park Service regarding this, and with multiple commissioners requesting to fill that position, why I'm not sure. It might have been myself, I believe, that reached back out to the National Park Service, and they were totally comfortable with adding an additional commissioner and just making it two rather than one. And so that's where we find ourselves now. Both Brian and Jock will be able to have input and be a part of what they're doing. I know that there's multiple suggestions out there right now of bicycle access into Arches, and I couldn't honestly say where it will end up myself, but I think this will give good representation from the county on that
What
decision.
about a motion, Bill, because you mentioned both their names?
Oh, so I'll make the motion. I move to appoint Commissioner Martinez and Commissioner Hadler to the bicycle access improvement in the National Parks Group.
Is there a second? Go ahead. Mike? And then
Second.
second, okay,
Yeah.
then I think I saw your hand up. Jacques, did you have a question or comment?
No, I was gonna make the motion, but I'll comment that we've already had one meeting and I thought it was a great first step, and I'm just looking forward to this project and more discussion about bicycle access in the national parks, because I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think all of the commission was well aware that that was all happening. We all were feedback on those, and you know, with the meeting happening before this vote, felt that it was super comfortable for those two to go ahead and go the vote. But all right, any other discussion? Okay, let's take a vote. We have a motion by Bill with a second by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
And that passes 6-0 with Commissioner Henry absent. Right, our next one is to appoint a liaison to the Thompson Springs Special Service District, and this is a reassignment request. I'll go ahead and let Commissioner Hadler speak to this.
Yeah, I've been the liaison to the Thompson Springs Special Service District and a voting member for 4 years. I think that community has come quite a ways since I got on, and I think that the direction they're going is going to, and I think it's gonna have to involve WISA and some just a different paradigm out there for them to get the water that community needs and deserves. And in my time there and talking to folks, I think it would be beneficial to them to have a liaison who has connections to WISA, and Commissioner Winfield also has developed some good relationships upstate that I think could be beneficial to the TSSD. So I am ready to relinquish my role in that capacity, and I think Bill would make a great liaison. So I would move to appoint Commissioner Winfield to the Thompson Special Service District as Commission Liaison.
I'll second.
Oh, Mary caught you before then.
Okay.
So Jacques has made a motion and Mary seconds. Any more discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to comment.
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I would say that Commissioner Hadler's done a great job of, you know, bringing that board together out there. I know that it was fairly disruptive and meetings were quite contentious. Just listening to some of the neighbors talk, and I would say Jock's done a real good job of bringing that together. And I think both Jock and I have ties into that community. You know, for the record, I have a sister that owns a piece of land out there, although she hasn't seen it or been on it in 20+ years. Why, there is that, you know, that I want to disclose that for sure. But the ties are more than that. They're a community in need, and you know, the JR John Ripley and I went before the CIB to get a grant for some stuff out there, and we got a SCADIA system that's almost operational now that the state can use. And I just think the community's been appreciative of Jacques' work and sees some value in both of us. I wouldn't say that there's any more one over the other, but there is a chance to move this forward and possibly see some participation in the future if things work out with GWISA. And I would say that's kind of where my interest lies, to try and get a bigger community, I guess, overseeing the water board out there and kind of being able to help and and move that forward in that community. So that's all I've got.
Okay, I think, Attorney has a comment.
Yeah, so early on in my tenure, I remember having to go out multiple times. I am not the biggest of humans, but Jacques took me out a couple times with him to go chat with that board because they have had quite a bit of growing. And in the beginning, it started out with myself being there and law enforcement being there, and lots of talks of litigation and turmoil.
Oh, yeah.
But I think they're in a wonderful place. I think that's been something that Commissioner Hadler's really done a good job to kind of help balance and calm down. And I think they've made a lot of good positive progress that I don't think would have been possible without, a strong helping hand. I appreciate Commissioner Hadler and Commissioner Whitfield taking on the meeting. It's really probably one of the most inconvenient meetings. You have to drive all the way out to Thompson, and this board meeting is like I don't know what it is. Their cinema, their lifeblood. It is a really, really interesting site. I wish all of our boards had this much engagement and this much excitement. So I just wanted to note Commissioner Hadler's great efforts out there, and I think they've been very helpful.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate both Stephen and Bill's comments on that. And it's been really fun and interesting to learn and work with that community. I've really enjoyed it. And I think we're getting places, and I trust that Bill will continue to get them further along and get that community to where it should be. And it is a unique and fascinating community. So, and I also that Bill and I worked really well together on the Thompson stuff. We've driven out there a number of times together for meetings, so I definitely appreciate the collaboration too.
Thank you. Okay, so go ahead and call for a vote. We had a motion by Jacques with a second by Mary. So all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we're 5-2. Let's see, Tricia Dean is absent and Mary McGann's absent, so. Moving on to number 14, which, okay, so 13 is being skipped due to legal review, and that's the contract approval for the public defender 2025 to 2027. So number 14 is facilitating the trail ambassador exit from the county. And I will start with this and let Jacques talk after I do. We've had multiple meetings, probably six since the last meeting that we had, that we discussed, that we had a workshop discussing the future of the trail ambassador. And we've had a lot of different nonprofits join us and community members. And they've, come to the decision that a nonprofit is going to be best course of action for them. Thinking about moving into the health department or another group was considered. They've been able to lock in a place to be housed for the next year, which is fantastic. And they've come to the county now asking for a few things, since that group doesn't have any money at the moment. They have some funding for future positions for next year, but not any funding for spending. So I think what they're requesting is some money for web design, and that web design will be a portal to channel donations through, as well as getting the word out. They want Google Workspace so that they can start mitigating, creating their emails and moving some of their contacts over before the exit from the county. They also want to do some legal fees, and I have a question for our attorney on legal fees. But so legal fees is the other one, and that will be to help them move the items that the county will move out of the county, which we haven't voted on, but those items that we do choose to send with them to get them transferred into their name. So there's some legal items. I think that's everything. Google Workspace, website. Oh, and then also just the nonprofit setup fees.
Yeah.
And so those are what they're asking the county to start with right now, so that they can move forward. There'll be a future resolution that will come with more ideas once we continue to work on, but this gets them moving in the right direction. And so the legal fees that were quoted on that vote was $10,000. And I just wanted to hear your opinion on that amount. And that she did mention, Anna mentioned that it was for a retainer, and that all of that money would probably not be used, but that was like you start with that and then it probably won't be the whole thing, but.
Yeah, so normally when anybody thinks about nonprofits, everybody's excited, but it's actually just, it's tax law. I mean, that's really what the formation is going to be. It's everything from a combination of tax law and then the bylaws, the formation documents and everything else that they need. They'll have the founding individuals, and I would estimate probably between 10 to 20,000 will be the range of fees that it'll take. The other thing that the county needs to do is create an asset list. I know they're working on that because we need to identify either the intellectual property, the physical assets, the titled assets, and all of those things to be packaged up and sent across. And so the question becomes, what does the county want to have us take care of, and what do they want outside help on? And I think for the most part, if our staff does your asset list and your basic information, we can kind of keep those costs down quite a bit. So I think that's that range. I think if you did it every later, the tricky thing is going to be that they won't be able to engage an attorney unless they bring that contract back to you guys anyways, because you guys have the signatory authority. So I think the next step would likely be finding an attorney. And that's whether we're going to put out an RFP or RFQ or determine that they're sole source, and then obtain that information, that contract, look at what the request is, but move pretty quick on that so that we can get this done by the end of the year, if that's what the commission wants to do and move forward. But time is of the essence.
Bill, I see your hand up, but I'm going to let Jacques speak first, just because him and I have been on that committee, and so if there's anything that I missed.
Yeah, no, I think you did a great job of explaining it, Melody, and we have been, that working group has been working frantically to get this completed by the end of the year. Melody and I have been doing weekly meetings with a very good group of folks from local nonprofits as well as the health center, and from Maddie and Anna from GCAT. We have another meeting at 1 tomorrow, Stephen, and I would absolutely invite you to that. I know you came to the first couple of those. And I think it's definitely beneficial to have you in the room for those, if at all possible.
1 p.m. tomorrow?
Yeah, it's 1 p.m. tomorrow, here.
Yeah, it should be right after court, so I should be able to attend.
Awesome. Yeah, and again, it's kind of a race against time to get this spun off. I've learned a ton about just creating a nonprofit from some of the folks in the room there that have been running them, and I think we're lucky to have some of those people in that room to help guide Anna as she works on this. But yeah, I'm definitely in favor of this. I mean, I think everyone here has espoused a appreciation for the trail ambassadors, if not in Grand County, then as their own entity, and the value that they bring to us. And just so it doesn't dawn upon, I think this is a great
Okay, Bill, go ahead.
I'll make the motion to approve this and then have comments after it's been seconded.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Jacques second, and then Bill, go ahead, comment.
Yeah, I would just like to comment. Oops, am I talking over somebody?
No, you're good. Mary's gonna go next.
Okay. Yeah, I would just like to comment, having been involved in setting up a couple of nonprofits, the lawyer fees to me seem a little bit high. I realize it's been a few years, but I guess as long as we keep an eye on that, and we have to prove it in the future, I do know that at some point we will be looking at likely funding some sort of a startup for this group when they move into a nonprofit. And I just think keeping a close tab on that and an eye on these fees would be advisable. So I agree with Jacques' comments. I think we all agree and see the value to it. I just was surprised by the legal services fee there, and then even more surprised by our county attorney. So it might have been a minute since I was part of this, but nonprofits are not extremely technical to set up. So.
Okay, thank you. And Mary, go ahead.
So the motion is to, use a $16,076 for the trail ambassador. Is that what the motion is for? That amount. I wanted to just make sure.
Yeah, I mean.
I wasn't clear in, there was, okay.
Ultimately, the county would be paying those bills, so it won't be like we're giving the
Oh, yeah.
just to clarify, we were not giving
That
we're
was
nonprofit the money. I mean, at the moment, we would be paying the bill. So, I mean, so maybe you would want to say not over 16,500 maybe, but because that will be purchased, we'll be paying the bill. It won't just be like, oh, here you go spend this. So right now, I would imagine it's gonna be something to the county still. Just like he talked about, we're gonna have to possibly get an RFP or decide single source. So it's still county funds at the moment, but we're helping them along. If I'm understanding it all right.
Clear with it just wasn't clear how much money we were thinking of using to help in the process. But
Yeah, and it's spelled out in the.
I know, I looked at that. I looked at that.
Of what Anna gave us for her
right there.
recommendations. So, Brian, did you have a comment?
Go ahead. I think Stephen, do you have
Oh,
something?
yeah.
I'm sure you can answer the question.
Again, confirming what will happen. I mean, this is the commission earmarking these funds, that this is what you guys would like those funds to be utilized for. I'm certain that the comm admin, Quinn Hall and Mark China will be able to help shepherd and guide this process through, contacting an attorney. They'll get a contract. It'll come back before you guys. If you guys are comfortable with this, likely what we can do is we can put it on the consent agenda as a ratification and have the signature executed. And then from there, it'll just be processed and they'll start doing the work. If we can find a source that does a flat fee, that'll be easier. Attorneys are starting to move forward and abandoning the billable hour. Well, that's, kind of the bane of most of the attorney's existence. So just give that information for you guys.
And then, so then the reason that we would have to hire somebody else out is because you would be at conflict or at odds basically with the person on the other side creating this?
So there's a couple different reasons. I mean, my office could do it. We would end up contracting out. But if you're going to help a nonprofit, like if you're going to help them go out on their own, it's not a bad idea that they have a start talking to a different attorney. And then that way in the future, if they run into issues, because regardless of where the program goes, the county's probably going to have to deposit seed money for them to be successful. And an attorney is a good thing to have for a budding new entity in a relationship as well. Once they shift onto their own, they're not going to have access to our office because we don't provide general legal advice. We provide information in conjunction with the county. And so I think it's a good supportive thing for them to have that relationship. I think it's a good supportive thing for them to be able to build off of that relationship going forward into their own. And so I think it serves many roles. I think, again, my office could theoretically do it, but you're creating a new and better relationship for that nonprofit by going outside and hiring that attorney. Because then once they're formed, then they can say, hey, I had a question about, agency liability, and fun things like that you guys don't get really excited about, and you get to talk to the attorney and they can kind of provide information about how, indemnification works and contracts, because they're going to have a slew of information, or they're going to have a slew of different projects that they're going to need. They're going to need leases. They're going to need asset acquisition. There's just going to be so many different things that they will need legal assistance on. And whether they obtain an attorney, you'd hope they obtain an attorney to kind of guide them through that process. So all in all, it serves multiple purposes. Could the county do it through my office? And could it be a little bit cheaper? Yeah, but I think you'd also miss out on kind of fundamental building blocks of creating a new nonprofit.
And I think Anna actually spoke to all of those things when we were mentioning Stephen. She was like, I really think we need to have our own outside, so we have that relationship. So.
And then where is the proposal for this money to come from?
General fund.
It would, yeah.
The general fund.
Research.
Yep. Okay, so do we want to keep it at, what, did you give an amount, Bill, with your, did you catch that? Did you give an amount to make a motion just to support them?
We can amend the motion not to exceed the $16,076.
Buck, you're good with that?
I am good with that.
Okay. We have a motion by Bill and a second by Jacques. and we'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so a 6-0 vote with Commissioner Hedin absent. And that, let's see, so we already did number 15, and just for those listening, that our general reports are now provided in written form. We could discuss them at the meeting if we had time for it. Today, we actually ended the meeting early, but I think we'll continue on. And so there are written reports on the agenda under our Van County Commission website, and see, there'll be no presentation for the year-to-date sales tax reporting. That is also written. The Spanish Valley Drive multi-use path update is also written, and the Thompson Springs replat update is also written. So if you are interested in those items, you go ahead and hop on and read those. Move on to our discussion items. Number 16, the conditional use permit policy and enforcement discussion by our county attorney.
Okay, so we've had a couple different conditional use permits called CUPs come before the commission over the years, and I'm joining on and hopefully. So again, the goal of a CUP is to make sure that we have obligations that are met within the conditional use permit. You guys set out requirements that have to be met on an annual basis. And so this is something that Commissioner Hedin and I are passionate about, which is enforcement. And I know I've brought this topic up to you guys a number of times. And so what we're doing is we're going to start doing a CUP tracking and business license renewal. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be listing each of the conditional use permits, their original scope, their terms that they are subject to, and monitor that on an annual basis. And to do that, we're proposing a policy, and I'm going to forward this out to everyone. We're going to propose a policy that helps kind of shape and guide what the code enforcement officer does. And so what that will require is that once a CUP is approved, we will always have those written conditions, and that's always been the case. And then within five business days, all of those terms will be entered into the CUP system. After that, we're going to have a site inspection and make sure that they comply. I'm not using specific examples intentionally, but let's imagine a new KFC comes into town. One of the things that we may want is that they do dust mitigation, and they put down a certain type of material to mitigate that, or that they'll have limited trucks going through it. So what we'll do is we'll go out and make an initial check of all the obligations that they have to meet. And once they meet those obligations, then we will shift into their obligation to have a business license. So right now, everybody that operates a business within the county, they must have a business license. Ensuring that they're complying with the requirements of the CUP and combining that with business license makes it so that they can't just ignore the obligations that you guys have. And so what we've done is we've contacted the clerk auditor's office, and we're making sure that they have to complete those elements and have to have a sign off from Mr. Black, our code compliance officer. Make sure that they do meet those things before they're going to issue a licensing number and that business license. If they fail to obtain that, they will not be able to obtain a business license. So it makes it so there's an absolute mandatory requirement that they get to a good starting point before they start operating. Because a lot of times what people will do is they'll come in, they'll apply for the CUP, get approved for the CUP, and they go, okay, that's done, good luck catching me. And we don't want that to be the case. So how we do that is we set it up, get them compliant before they even start. Once they have the license, we're going to make sure that we have an annual check-in. And so all of our CUPs will have that requirement on an annual basis to make sure that they're compliant with all of the obligations. So that would include inspections, documenting that they're meeting each of their individual listed out conditions. So for the code compliance officer, they will make a list of each of the unique elements that you guys read out when you guys read your CUPs that have, hey, you can only have X number of trucks. as correct, all the conditions that you list out, you know, the conditional use permit. And so we will make sure that they are reviewed line by line, that those documents will be maintained by the planning and zoning staff, and it'll serve as a compliance record. All of the CUP files that they originally submit will be documented and maintained. And the reason why is when an entity comes out and they request a CUP for a particular use, over time, their business may be successful and they might want to expand beyond their original scope of their CUP. So because of that, we want to make sure that we have all of their original documents, and that's going to require good record keeping with everything from the date it's filed to the date that it's approved. Now, if there are issues that we have, those will be captured and we will try to gain compliance through our standard process of seeking compliance. That's normally a letter informing them that they're out of compliance. It's putting them on notice that they need to fix things. And generally how code compliance works in the county is we give them an opportunity to come into compliance voluntarily. It is not our goal to, you know, clap them in irons and really have, you know, jump to that immediate step. Instead, we want to transition upward and say, here's our issue, here's what you're violating. And so have that open and continual conversation. Additionally, we're just kind of, for your guys' background information, the zoning administrator is the person that's responsible for maintaining the integrity of the tracking system. So it's really something that the planning department will be in charge of. We're just facilitating this conversation starting off because this hasn't been done yet. And when we had our last CUP, Commissioner Hedin had brought up this importance, and I started an email chain and kind of inquired about what we've done. So that's the idea behind the policy, putting it all together, having the tracking sheet, combining it with business licenses, where we will probably have friction points for the commission. I think there are naturally friction points with CUPs when people get granted them and then the neighbors don't know what conditions apply or whether they're compliant with those, or, you know, that they kind of get lost in the wind. I want to make sure that the records are there, they're accessible so that people don't forget. Because if you don't have somebody that's been here a long time that's looking at these things, they may forget about the CUP and which CUP and which process. Commissioner Martinez.
Yeah, so I haven't looked at the county's business licenses.
Yeah.
So on our business licenses, we list out specifics, right? So in the city, on the business license that we have, like I have an outfitting business, right? I have a rental business, and then I have a retail business that could all be on the same business license. Is the county similar?
For the type of, yes and no. In the CUPs, we're unique. These are unique. The CUPs are provided for a specific use that's not that's a conditional use, not as just a straight up permitted use.
Correct. So, but my question is so on the business license, right, is it going to be, let's say that I have, you know, a piece of property and I do horse training on that property, and that's just a regular permitted use that I could just get a business license. Then also in my shop, I have a metal fabrication that we have just seen, right? Now, let's say that I don't meet the requirements for the conditional use that was placed on
the metal shop.
Metal shop.
Correct.
Does that withhold my business license then for my horse training?
No. No.
That's my one concern with what we're doing.
No, they should be treated differently.
Okay.
It's not going to violate your regular permitted use. That is something that's separate from your conditional use.
Got it. But the way that our business licenses are set up, that would have to be something that would have to be changed then.
Okay.
Correct? I don't know. I'm just wondering.
I don't believe that that's how they, I don't believe that that's how they currently operate.
Okay, I don't know that, so that's what I was just wondering.
Commissioner McCurdy.
Our business licenses are renewed annually on a set timeline.
Yes.
Are we gonna compliance review on the CUP annually? On the date of activation of the CUP, or are we gonna do that during a set timeline?
I would say that's probably going to be cleanest, and this is the P&Z's choice of when they do this. I think it makes most natural sense to do it in January, some annual review period. If we're doing it based on their licenses, their renewal dates are going to be different based on when they started engaging in business.
Yep.
And I think it'd be a nightmare. I want one day where we can walk in and just do a CUP annual review on that day in January. So all the commissioners can feel good and say, hey, look, we did a look back for 2025. Everybody was in compliance that had a CUP, or we've actually inspected and these individuals are not compliant with CUPs, et cetera.
Okay, that sounds the better path for my mind too there.
Steven, do we have any idea how many active CUPs we have going on in the county right now?
I don't have a specific number.
I think we have a lot.
We have quite a few, and the other difficulty that we historically had is that we used to not require that they started use of the CUPs.
Which so they could get it without
and it can sit there.
basically.
Yeah, correct, and that's why we have those. We've updated the conditions and terms. So.
Well, I am excited about this because it's one of my biggest concerns about CUPs.
Yeah, thanks for taking it on.
Appreciate you taking this on and getting it going.
Excellent, and we will circulate. We'll circulate a number for you. I've got the information that they can give us a specific number. But again, one of the other things, and this always dovetails into the conversation, where the commissioners can be most helpful when we have issues with the CUPs, be it issuing the license or not issuing the license, it's really best to either contact my office, contact Gabe, or contact Gabe or my office is a good starting point, because a lot of times when we have these compliance issues, a commissioner is going to get a phone call from somebody that's going to be upset and say, hey, they think I'm doing X, Y, and Z, which is inappropriate, and they get really upset. Come into it through the perspective of being educated about what's going on or not. And that way it really helps staff, the attorney's office, for everything to be flown through. And the information on the CUPs, roughly 50 CUPs.
Is it? Wow. Okay. Wow, that's not a lot.
And they haven't been historically
I think they get them in.
tracked.
Yeah.
So, and we can do better, which is always the fun thing about improvements, is we always can do better. So that's what it is. This is something that, I just jumped on since the last meeting. I'm going to put it in a finalized form on the next agenda. I didn't want this to be a surprise to anybody. This isn't punishing any particular person. This isn't with an eye towards Project X. Instead, it's just, hey, look, we haven't been wonderful at tracking this and we want to get better. And so hopefully come January, we can do a omnibus review of all the CUPs. And again, the goal is to have that grace period to work with them, just like the commission's indicated for the last couple of years on anything involving enforcement. We've kind of been softer to start with. And so we'll make sure that everybody's on track. And so we're not going to look to just shut people down. We're going to work with them to make sure that they're in compliance. And then the other thing to note is sometimes we have individuals that show up that want the CUPs enforced, and they don't know how to go about it, and they don't know how to track it, and they don't have that information. So another part that we might think about is doing an annual report and have the code compliance officer come in January or February and say, hey, look, we've reviewed all the CUPs, they're all compliant. Or if they're not, say, hey, there's some that we're going to work with. And that way we can feel better when CUPs are being approved or not, because I know I've mentioned it to Commissioner Dean a lot, that we continue to have CUPs in the policy, and you guys haven't said that you don't want them in the policy. And so it's here for the anticipated future. So we want to make sure that we're making sure that they're compliant. So that was everything I had. If there's anything that spooks you guys or want to look at the draft policy, I'm happy to talk to you guys about it, but it's essentially what I've just walked through. And so that's it. I'll have it on the agenda next time. If you guys do have questions about it in between now and the next agenda review, let me know, and we can enthrall you with the exciting details.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Right. Okay, with that, we're going to adjourn our meeting at 7 o'clock.
Wow, 7 o'clock.
Is there daylight outside? No.
Thank you, Commissioner Winfield.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Yep.